The time is 5:30 p.m. We will now call this regular public meeting of the Board of Trustees of Humble Independent School District to order. Moving to our first item of business, closed session. A closed session of the board will now be held on the matters contained in the notice for this meeting. Should the board determine that any final action, final decision, or final vote be required with regard to any matter considered in such closed session, then such final action, final decision, or final vote will be made upon reconvening of this public meeting in open session. The time is 5:30 p.m. The time is now 7:05. We will now reconvene into open session. Thank you for joining us tonight. Reminder that the meetings of the board are open to the public but are not a meeting of the public. The Humble ISD Board of Trustees meet monthly in a regular meeting to receive reports from staff and take action from recommendations of the superintendent. The board receives the agenda and all supporting documentation several days in advance of the regular meetings, which allows us to ask and receive answers to many of our questions in advance of the regular meeting. Therefore, lengthy discussions are not always necessary on every agenda item, but as a board, we do have the appropriate knowledge and preparation for responses regarding the content of the meeting tonight. There are students and other guests present. To maintain decorum, respectful behavior is expected. Disruptive behavior and/or comments will not be allowed. And with that, our first item. I would ask everyone to stand for our Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the Texas flag. Mr. Grabowski, will you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I ask that you go ahead and sit. We're going to stand up, but I just wanted to read something, and then we'll stand for our moment of silence. Tonight, as we get ready for our moment of silence, I want to take some time to reflect on what we all have been feeling. The past couple of weeks have been quite tough, filled with uncertainty and heartbreaking loss for families across Texas and our nation. And it's hit home with our district. Our minds keep drifting back to the water and the faces of those who didn't make it. We especially feel the loss of our own, Jeff Wilson, an Humble ISD teacher who taught our students for 30 years. Shiloh Wilson, a talented student in our district, and Amber Wilson, a wife, a mother, and longtime employee at Insperity. Tragedies like this remind us to care for others. We've seen incredible acts of kindness from first responders, community members, artists, students, and companies all pitching in their time, money, and resources to help families affected by the flooding. Tonight, each school board member is wearing a green ribbon, green the color of Camp Mystic, symbolizing that our hearts are with everyone who's hurting. Let's take a moment to remember not only those impacted by the flood, but also all who are feeling worried or grieving, whether from a natural disaster, an accident, or health challenges. Love and prayer have a powerful way of bringing us together. Please join me in a quiet, extended moment of silence. Please stand. Thank you. You may be seated. Right. Moving to our next agenda item, commendations and recognitions. Dr. Brown, Can you please introduce tonight's inspiring moments?
I would be happy to do that, Mr. President. And this summer, Humble ISD hosted a 2-week emergent bilingual science camp at Jack Fields Elementary School for students entering the 5th grade. We had about 80 students join us and representing 23 different elementary schools from across the district. The camp wraps up this week, and so we're going to take a look at what they've been doing.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
This summer, we hosted an emergent bilingual science camp focused around STEM at Jack Fields Elementary. Our focus of the camp was really to give students an opportunity to get exposed to hands-on inquiry-based learning around the STEM field. Our hopes is to build their curiosity as well as their confidence around science and engineering so they see themselves as a scientist or an engineer.
If I was an engineer, I'll fix problems, and I would love to do that, and I want to be an engineer now.
What made me interested is I like doing science too. I like doing science at school because you get to do like experiments and you get to learn about like cool things.
I wanted him to experience something different, learn more about science. He's really liked, science for a while. He's into, astronauts and stuff like that since he was little. So I thought it was like a great opportunity for her to learn a little bit more about it.
Pues no le había visto mucho interés en cosas de construir, pero aquí me estoy dando cuenta que es algo que le llama mucho la atención y le está gustando, y estoy muy agradecida con que usted lo tenga ofreciendo para él.
So really, we wanted to target the emergent bilingual student because we wanted to work on closing those gaps. We know summer learning loss is an issue, and so we wanted to make sure we gave exposure to them with these different experiences.
I always want to be the one to push kids to be their best, to push them to keep using their brain, because the reason we have that gap in the first place is that they just don't have the opportunity to use it in the way that they do for the 7-8 months we have them in school.
Es muy importante porque el verano es algo que es muy crucial. Y hábitos y estructura es muy muy importante para un niño, especialmente para mi hijo, y el mantener algún tipo de rutina académica es muy muy importante.
As a bilingual student growing up, I know the challenges they face. So with this camp, it just kind of helps close those gaps and just offers them extra support by helping them and exposing them to different content. And science is everywhere. So this camp just helps them see that and identify that science is all around them.
So when we were planning the camp, we focused on 2 different reporting categories. The first week is Earth and Space Science. The second week is Organisms and Environment. So we were able to take a field trip on the first week to NASA, and the second week we headed out to the Houston Museum of Natural Sciences.
Every single day they change the topic, like they're not repeating the things. So every single day I learn new stuff.
Camp has been extremely wonderful. We've had so many amazing experiences for our learners. They've had speakers come and teach them about real careers in the field.
We had a NASA speaker who's actually from the Humble area, and so they were able to say, oh, that could be me one day.
Hopefully with science interest and also technology interest, maybe he can grow up to be an engineer or do something with computers, or possibly work his way up to be a scientist.
And just watching them be engaged and feel very passionate about learning science and math integrated with technology and engineering through a lot of STEM challenges has been wonderful.
Wow, very good. Well, these amazing experiences would not have happened without the incredible planning by our hardworking elementary science coordinator, Lori Jack, who's here with us this evening, and elementary science specialist, Connie Shout. So, yay. So a huge thank you to both of you and to the entire staff. I had a chance to visit that program yesterday. And it's really awesome. I got to hold a turtle. I didn't want the snake. No, I don't want the snake. I'll do the turtle. Turtles are safe, so I'll do that. And I'm sure the snake was safe too. I just didn't want to find out. And so anyway, a big thank you to everyone for that experience for our students. That was really amazing, and I really appreciate that. And Mr. President, that concludes tonight's recognitions.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Brown. Now going to have comments by individual board members, and we will go ahead and begin with Mr. Kirchhoff, and we'll just go right around the horn.
Thank you, President. I'll keep this brief. It's been a difficult few weeks for everybody affected from the floods, and I just want to echo Marcus's comments. Our thoughts and prayers are with those affected, and especially those here in our district.
Thank you. Thank you for just even providing that commendation with the students for science. That was wonderful. I also want to just echo those comments that we are just prayerful for all the floods. I think the entire country is flooding right now. So just to be with all those families that are going through a lot. I also want to read something today. Marcus, can I ask a question? Will I get a chance to comment after public comment, or okay, then I'll refrain from that. But I just want to thank everybody for your patience, for allowing our new board to come on board as we're learning and growing and we're asking questions. So appreciate that. So we will have a chance to comment after public comments.
On what?
What's said on public comment.
No, we actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Binkley, I don't think we can actually comment on public comment unless it's an agenda item. So if it's an agenda item, we can.
And I'll just say my public comment. So once again, thanks for your patience. I'm going to read this just as you guys read your public comments, because I want to be clear and concise and not say too much more. But thank you to the community members who have continued to stay engaged and vocal. I want to speak directly to some of the concerns that have been raised, particularly around the recent appointment process and perceptions of transparency. First, I want to acknowledge the frustration that many are feeling. Whether or not we agree at every point, it is clear that there's a deep desire for openness and accountability on the board and how it operates, and that is a good thing. Public trust is earned through consistency, honesty, humility, and we should never lose sight of that, period. Regarding the appointment, I understand the process didn't feel transparent to everyone. I also understand how the timing and handling of certain steps gave rise to questions about fairness or motive or whatever. While the process followed legal requirements, it's also fair to say that perception matters. And if the community feels unheard, that's something we must reflect on and improve on moving forward. Some steps that we need to continue to push for as a new board, and I urge our board members, is to moving things out of closed session that can be an open session legally, and bringing a set of metrics and accountability back to Humble ISD to move us forward. As a trustee, my role is not just to follow policy, it's to represent the voices of our community, even when it's uncomfortable. I'm committed to ensuring that future decisions, especially those involving public trust, are handled with greater clarity, communication, and inclusivity, and we take time to process those decisions, and we slow down that process. I encourage continued engagement. Let's stay in the room together and work towards solutions to restore confidence and bring our focus back to what matters most, which is our students in schools. And that's something that you'll already see that our board is already doing. The district is focused on improving our scores and making plans in curriculum and learning at all levels that you will see today, as well as any personal, we're doing a lot of things that are on our agenda around personal devices, as well as the Foster Elementary, where we are hearing our community and responding to that in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, one comment wasn't on my list, but it's just been raised. For my experience, we don't discuss things in closed session that shouldn't be discussed in closed session, and I will put my hand on the fire on that one, because that's the truth. And we all hold ourselves accountable on that, and I've seen it happen time and again, which is a good thing. First, I want to congratulate, because unless Dr. Brown, maybe you were going to do this, but our two teachers, our district Secondary Teacher of the Year, Cassandra DeBatis, am I saying her name correctly? Okay, and Amy Harris, Elementary Teacher of the Year, who have been named finalists for Region 4 for 2025. So I just want to, and I know the whole board wishes them luck in this next round. There's 47 districts in the region, and only 6 folks are selected secondary, 7 elementary, so that's great. And also, one of our Tasita High School baseball alums, Bryce Matthews, was called up to the big show by the Astros. That's really great. That was exciting to see his picture on the front of the sports page the other day. And also, just obviously, much more somber note, and as it's been mentioned, my deepest sympathies, our deepest sympathies to the family and friends of Jeff, Amber, Shiloh Wilson. I know firsthand, with Jeff, with something he started a couple of years ago with the Tiny Homes Project as the head of the auto tech. He got his kiddos to start refurbishing a vehicle that was given to the veteran who got the house. And that was a great thing that he did on his own and got that started. Hope it will continue. And Amber, I've known as a co-worker at Insperity for many, many years. She's a very well-respected co-worker there. I never did meet Shiloh. It's my loss. And just from hearing from his friends, what a great young man he was. And I also like to extend my deepest sympathies to the family and friends of Alondro Cervantes Jr., one of our students who died last week, as many of you know, in a tragic accident at home. It's just heartbreak. There's just much of it, and too much of it to go around. But Mr. Holmes, I will leave it at that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to say the same about the Wilson family. My oldest granddaughter just graduated from Friendswood High School, and we took her on a cruise for the last week. She left Camp Mystic as a counselor on June 29th. So we saw firsthand, it wasn't the friends that called her, it was her fellow counselor friends she could not get a hold of. It's real, it's devastating, and it's tough to explain to an 18-year-old, trust me. So I know as a community, our hearts and prayers are in the right place, and I thank you all for that. But I want to always beat the junior ROTC drum. I'm a big believer in it. I think people know that about me. What our military pulled off in June started being planned in 2009. So my message to the high schoolers is that plan started in 2009 and executed in June, just a few weeks ago. That if you have a dream, but you don't know where to execute that dream, give our junior ROTC a chance, and perhaps ROTC in college or the military right after high school. Especially young men, it gives you guidance, it gives you discipline. You will learn a career trait, field, skill, something that you can take in with you for the rest of your life to make yourself productive. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to echo what you said, but every time Humble ISD experiences loss, whether that be a retiree, administrator, teacher, employee, or most tragically, a student, our hearts break. Recently, Texas has experienced loss on a huge scale. As a mother, I cannot imagine losing a child. There could be nothing worse. My heart is with the parents and the families of the victims. Words are simply inadequate at this time. We pray for the family and communities that have been impacted by the recent floods, specifically for the friends and family of the Wilson family. And we're wearing the green pins for Camp Mystic, and I'm wearing green for Creekwood and Gay Park.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with my colleagues about how heavy our hearts are. I do want to do one positive note. I wanted to take a moment to recognize a student in our community that emailed the entire board. I didn't get permission to use their name, so I'm not going to, but it's an incoming 6th grader at Kingwood Middle School. They recently wrote the entire board with a letter about climate change education. And what struck me the most about their letter wasn't just the knowledge of the issue, but their maturity and sense of responsibility. They took the initiative to research climate data, cite specific examples relevant to Texas, made suggestions for how our district could address the topic. And that letter demonstrates exactly the kind of critical thinking, civic engagement, and awareness we hope to foster in our students. So whether or not we agree with the specific policy suggestions, I think we can all appreciate the thoughtful approach to advocacy and care for the community's future. They exemplify what it means to be an engaged Humble ISD citizen. And they're doing it before they got to middle school, which is a little ahead of where I was at. So if you're watching tonight or your parents are watching tonight, thank you for your letter and reminding us that some of our most important voices are our youngest ones. The passion and energy gives me a lot of hope for the future of our district and our community. Thank you.
I don't recall seeing that, so could you forward that to us? I didn't see that email. I'd like to read it because.
I will. I found it weeks later. It got hit by our spam filter, so it's probably in your spam box.
I never. Yeah. I don't go to that, so yeah, if it's there, it's there.
That's exactly what happened. Our next item is comments by the administration. Dr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate all the comments that have been made tonight and during the moment of silence. Appreciate all of that for all of those families and certainly the Wilsons, and so appreciate that, and I hope they do as well. So thank you all for that. Also, the legislative session, as you know, has ended, and we're working our way through how that impacts all of us in public education. There's a couple of items that we'll talk about here later this evening, and then I would suspect through future board meetings, you'll be seeing more items for discussion as we work our way through all of that legislation.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. The next item is public comment. The board encourages comments from citizens of the district or from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak, either as an individual or as a representative of a group, may do so following the procedure outlined on the agenda. The board asks that comments pertain to public education issues and be no longer than 2 minutes. Remember that the board may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda for tonight's meeting. If an issue mentioned is listed on tonight's agenda, the board will defer discussion until the appropriate time during the meeting. In addition, the board has adopted complaint policies that are designed to secure at the lowest administrative level a prompt and equitable resolution of complaints and concerns. Complaints brought by students or their parents, by employees, and by citizens may be heard in accordance with board policies. Each of these processes provides that if a resolution cannot be achieved administratively, the person may appeal the administrative decision to the board as a properly posted agenda item. Copies of our district policies on public participation in meetings and filing complaints are available on the Humble ISD website. Please, any speakers, I invite you to be prepared to come to the podium. And our first speaker is Mr. and Mrs. Broccoli. That is not a joke. It's not a joke. Mr. and Mrs. Broccoli. Okay. All right, moving on to the next. Mr. Greg Courier. All right. Mr. Scott Ford.
Hello, everybody. Scott Ford. I want to talk about the district picking fights and causing controversy where there doesn't need to be any fights or controversy. I was here years ago when a board decided to hire the previous superintendent. The community did not want that. But in the hubris and the arrogance of that board, we are now still paying the price because they did not listen to the people. Fast forward to current day, we have other things that didn't need to happen. The results would have been the same, but if we actually followed a transparent process, we wouldn't have these issues. For example, the hiring of a superintendent, where we had applicants and nobody apparently was interviewed. That was against procedures. That should never have been done. It should have been an open, fair process. Then we had the comments that were made by the current superintendent. As a former teacher, if I made those comments, I would be put on leave immediately, as I should, pending the outcome of an investigation. And if the investigation found that I was wrong, I would be let go. And if I found I was not wrong, I would be put back in the classroom. Again, not following what we should be following. Not long ago, we had a board appointment. I've made my public opinion very knowledgeable about this. I have over 11,000 views of my video regarding the process of appointing a board member. This should have been public, but yet this district keeps shooting itself in the foot. They keep doing things that cause a lack of trust. And now there's another fight that's going to come, and as a personal favor to a board member, I'm not doing it tonight, but there is a student that deserves your 2-3-minute recognition. And if it's not done, then you've got another fight. Thank you.
Miss Beth Guide.
Good evening. My name's Beth Guy. As you know, I used to call this board co-conspirators. I'm now going to call you CSI Humble. Each of you are trying to find a crime or something. I don't know what we're doing, but what it has led, sadly, is we're now faced with a board that's acting as guilty as the previous board, with the most glaring, the swearing in of Mr. Ken Kirchhofer in secret, with board members on vacation and the lawyer not at work that day. I understand that you can do it and that you did do it. You shouldn't have done it. And it's a process that you shouldn't have participated in. But most importantly, in the United States of America, we value the vote. And this action did not value that. I sat in a room, Mr. Kirchhofer, and listened to the people that wanted you not to be there because of the anti-incumbent sentiment and the previous votes and the actions that you participated in. The entire Republican Party didn't back you. But with all of that said, I watched a video where Mr. Scarfo used Mr. Silva's inexperience as the parliamentarian and forced to vote on something that wasn't even on the agenda and didn't follow the proper procedure. The problem with all of this is that you all look guilty. And then I had a board member that may have wanted to recant their vote and change that vote. It wouldn't have affected the outcome. But although I give hats off to the gamesmanship of it, the reality is the same. You're thumbing your nose at this community. We've asked for transparency, and you're doing the same as the last board. Maybe for different reasons, maybe for valiant reasons, but the result is the same. And the most sacred tenet of the United States of America, you're now dancing on the line of upholding the Constitution, which you were sworn to do. You should take steps to eradicate this problem and fix this immediately. I have some ideas what they are, and I'm going to run out of time, but you have a good night.
Mrs. Hollyham.
Good evening. I would like to commend the Board of Trustees for acting decisively and wisely in appointing existing trustee Ken Kirchhofer to fill position 4 at last month's special meeting. It was a wise decision to, 1, appoint a trustee and not hold a special election. Not only are elections costly in financial terms, but it's also costly for the district administratively, to the candidates for their efforts, their time, their resources, and to the community and voters who just went through an election just weeks prior to the appointment decision last month. Fatigue, that's what this community avoided by not having a special election. It is time to move on with important business in the district. And 2, appointing Mr. Kirchhofer. It was a wise and prudent decision. With a unanimous 6-0 vote, with all the board members except for Mr. Kirchhofer himself voting. Why does this matter to have Mr. Kirchhofer on the board? Experience. Existing and new board trustees all recognize that experience, know-how, and a level of excellence in execution matters. This will further advance investigative matters that Mr. Kirchhofer has played a key role for the district, the entire district. Speed of resolution will benefit the district, and Mr. Kirchhofer's experience is vital for the board to advance and help conclude the investigations. And continuity. Why stop a train going in the right direction on its tracks? Allow the right people in the process to continue. Mr. Kirchhofer's knowledge and collaborative relationships provide continuity and a path toward resolution that will save the district from the starts and stops and delay tactics of investigations. Appointing Mr. Kirchhofer will go down as one of your wisest decisions. This helps the district move forward to speedily continue and resolve investigative and legal matters and refocus precious time and energy on what matters the most, our students. Thank you.
Mrs. Rebecca Roddy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rebecca, and I'm here to speak about Foster Elementary, a neighborhood school in Kingwood. To catch many up to speed, Foster was completely demolished last year. In April 24, district personnel showed Trailwood leadership a rendering that was acceptable, no glaring problems, and any issues were addressed. An active community member tried for a year to get updates, no luck. Fast forward a year to this past April, the new plans, with no input from the community, has our green space down to a small fraction of what it was before. With this news, I rallied the community to send grievance emails, and I advocated for a community meeting, which happened. There was unanimous agreement how we want underground detention to reclaim our green space. A survey was sent out about a week later, and 78% of respondents said we'd rather have underground detention, even if that means pushing our opening date back. Go to the Foster website, click on menu, then links for the meeting and survey results are under our school. What's another year when this building will be around long after any of us are gone? There are many in the district who say the district doesn't care about us, or they won't listen to Trailwood. Now is y'all's chance to prove them wrong. We've heard apologies, thank you. What needs to happen, though, is to have our green spaces back, and each of y'all know that's the right thing to do, not just for our children of today, but for children and community members in another 50 years and beyond. What the public is advocating for now is putting our children first, and that is what really matters. On an unrelated note, I know a lot of tax-paying homeschoolers who would like to have a chance to speak with the district regarding the new UIL policy. Perhaps a focus group would be beneficial and a compromise can be had. Thank you for your time. 10 seconds.
Ms. Bethany Thompson.
Hello, my name is Bethany Thompson. I'm speaking today in favor of the underground detention ponds at Foster Elementary. When you build a school in the middle of a community, you should not be surprised that the community feels connected to the school. The original building stood for 50 years, and our community wants a school that we can be proud of for the next 50. Educating students isn't just about their minds, but also their bodies. Children need access to run and play, and the open detention pond plans do not give that ability to the children of Foster. Yes, the school will have a fancy new playground, but the space is not enough for an entire grade level of 100+ kids to run safely. My son was at Hidden Hollow this past year and rarely played on the new playground, choosing instead to play soccer and tag on the open field. Children learn valuable social skills through play, especially the unregulated games they play during recess. The current location of the playground near the front of the building is in the worst location, as it is in full sun in the majority of the day and surrounded by brick and concrete. By having covered detention, we can move the playground to the Crystal Springs side where there can be trees and the open field. Every other elementary school within Humble ISD has space for open play outside of their playgrounds. Covered detention is the only equitable solution for the children of Foster Elementary. Thank you.
Mrs. Rachel, and I apologize if I mispronounce, Mrs. Rachel Burcham.
Hello, my name is Rachel Burcham. Tonight, the Humble ISD Board is considering a vote not to allow participation in their UIL programs by outside students, including homeschoolers and private school students. I believe this is a bad idea for the students, for the community, and for the school district. Allowing non-enrolled students access to UIL activities is not a new, untested idea. Currently, 37 other states allow homeschoolers access to extracurricular activities within the public schools. Texas schools now have the opportunity, along with the funding, to catch up. UIL Executive Director Dr. Jamie Harrison testified during the Texas House Public Education Committee hearing in May that school districts in Texas have not had any problems to date in the districts that do allow non-enrolled access. This includes 46 districts so far with, as he testified, no problems. Trends in the Texas legislature are moving towards increased UIL access. UIL access was passed by the Texas legislature in 2021. In 2023, they voted to add funding of $1,500 per student per UIL activity to make it more practical for public schools to offer UIL access to outside students. In 2025, they voted to make access the default position for public schools within the state of Texas based on the desires of the general public. This trend demonstrates the increasing desire of the public in Texas to include all students in beneficial UIL activities. There is also value to the public schools in this. The school's talent for UIL activities will increase for academic, artistic, and athletic activities by opening the doors to all qualified students in the community. Their participation standards would be the same as any other student, including grade reports and testing. The schools may choose to limit the number of non-enrolled students in each activity so that the participation is not more than the school can handle. In closing, an educated public is a benefit to the entire community, and I urge, and every child deserves access to quality education and quality extracurriculars. I urge you to consider all students when making this vote. Thank you.
Dr. Janie Brenham.
Good evening, School Board Trustees and Dr. Roger Brown. My name is Janie Brenham, a proud parent of Humble ISD graduates. I congratulate each one of you for accepting the responsibility to educate the students of this district because we trust that you will do what is best for our children. Let me begin by stressing that we, the parents, approve of the appointment of Ken Kirchhofer to the school board. His invaluable experience will help us continue the progress we're making in our school district. Ken has proven organizational, fiscal, and leadership skills. He contributes to thoughtful governance discussions and decisions by being well-informed, open-minded, and deliberative. When Ken meets with the parents, he vocalizes that the authority rests with the board as a whole and not with individual trustees. He listens to the parents, practices transparency, and stays focused on educating all of our children. Most importantly, with our transition to a new school board and superintendent, it will be important to have stability, institutional knowledge, and a person who strives to give our children the best education that they can get. Thank you, Ken Kirchhofer, for bringing all of these skills with you to the school board. I ask that you use these skills to make Humble ISD the best district that it can be and to properly prepare our children for the future. Thank you for your service.
Alex Johnson.
Good evening, Superintendent and school board members. My name is Alex Johnson, and I am a 13-year-old homeschooler with a passion for music and theater, which is why I'm here today speaking. I would like to ask each of you to vote in favor of our school district allowing homeschoolers to participate in UIL activities. Allowing homeschool participation not only provides me with the chance to contribute to an orchestra or a different chamber group, it allows me to foster my musical development. But when you all vote to allow UIL access for homeschool students, because of a law called HB 3708, our district will receive $1,500 per student per activity, offering a compelling reason to extend this invitation. I have been playing music since the age of 2, starting with piano, and then cello later at age 5, so I could play in a group setting. When you all vote yes towards this opportunity, we all win. I get to create music with my local community peers and share the arts with those around me here in Humble. Currently, I have to drive 45 minutes each way to play with a homeschool group that only meets once a week. Having access to local opportunities would allow me more time to do what I love, which is making music, and less time wasted driving. Also, this local opportunity would likely allow me more chances to play than just once a week. I get to help our district with my musical gifting and be a part of something bigger than myself while the district does not have to pay for my UIL participation. HB 3708 means that the state will pay our district for my UIL costs. I believe that embracing homeschool involvement in UIL activities is a positive step that benefits both individual students and the school district as a whole. Thank you for considering this request.
Mrs. Sarah Sanders.
It's hard to pass that up. Hello, I'm Sarah Sanders, a fellow homeschool mom, sitting with the group in the back. I'm here to request that you vote to support access to UIL activities for all students who reside in Humble ISD. Let me talk about some financial benefits. The school will receive $1,500 allotment for each UIL activity that each student participates in. This took effect in 2023. The Foundation School Program, FSP, directs the TEA to allocate this funding for every participating student. If Humble ISD does not accept non-enrolled students, the students and the funding can go to a neighboring school district who choose to participate. I encourage you not to leave that money on the table. Adding several new students to an existing team will not substantially raise costs to the school, but for example, adding one student who participates in 2 activities will add $3,000 to the school's allotment. There's also individual and community benefits. The benefit for the student, allowing homeschool students to access UIL extracurricular activities, will mean giving students within the district both academic and athletic opportunities that they may not otherwise have access to. In a recent survey, Texas homeschoolers cited extracurricular options as the #1 opportunity they needed better access to. These opportunities to pursue their passions and hone their skills can be life-changing for students that may have no other options. There's also a benefit to the community. Students with life skills of leadership, teamwork, and self-discipline gained in sports and other UIL activities are a benefit to the entire community. Opening up UIL activities to all students within the district allows more students to gain these valuable skills that benefit their community as they grow up and participate in society. In closing, our tax dollars fund public education because an educated public is a benefit to the entire community and because every child deserves access to a quality education. I urge you to consider all students within our district when voting tonight.
Ms. Tracy Shannon.
There just isn't enough time, really, for what I'd like to say. But we've heard a lot about experience tonight. Prostitutes have a lot of experience, but I'm tired of getting screwed, and so are the members of this community. Trailwood Village, where I own 2 homes. I pay a lot of taxes in this community. Please restore the green space that the community has enjoyed for many decades before Robert Scarfo and Ken Kirchhoffer got involved. More SEL is on the agenda tonight to be approved and for us to spend more money on. Really? How about we stop collecting data on the kids' emotions and start leaving that to the parents? Now, you want to exclude homeschooling kids from the UIL activities? How many times have I heard many of you talk about how team activities benefit students? Homeschool families pay taxes. I paid $22,000 in taxes in this community last year. For those who were endorsed by the Texas GOP or who pursued that endorsement, which is most of you, the GOP Plank 109, look it up. It says that we want homeschool kids to be included in UIL activities. The homeschool community votes. We don't just vote. We work campaigns. We show up with all of our family members to help people get elected. Keep that in mind and just watch.
We're going to circle back to the top with, I believe, Mr. Broccoli is here. If Mr. and Mrs. Broccoli here, please walk up to the podium.
Okay. All right, 2 seconds. Thank you guys for giving us the time.
All right. How you guys doing? My name is Kimberly Anakuru. This is Elijah Thompson, and we are Mr. and Mrs. Broccoli. What we are really here to do is more so get health awareness on the map, and that's what Mr. Broccoli is. So, yeah. So basically, we're accentuating the fact of having healthy products as basically superheroes. So that's what we're accentuating here. We've collaborated with multiple companies as far as e-ride scooters and so forth. As far as like accentuating Mr. Broccoli, we're trying to integrate it to the schools. So we would love for you guys to check us out. We're gonna make sure to send you guys certain emails so you can check it out. Eli, go ahead and explain them as far as like our rundown.
All right, so this is the Mr. Broccoli presentation. All right, you can hold the comic book and then get the items out the bag. So we will be going over the about me, the objectives, the characters, the demographic, the fundraiser, and then you guys can contact us. All right? About me. My name is Elijah A. Thompson. I'm a cartoonist / animator. I'm a viral producer / animator with a cartoon show on channel 27.9 that airs in 7.2 million homes. I also have an amazing content creator who has obtained 300 plus million views on TikTok and 1.2 million impressions on Instagram. We would like to present to you Mr. and Mrs. Broccoli. So our main objectives is, this is a brand created to bring health awareness to the fast food industry. We aim to shed light on the good and bad that evolves around fast food in the community, but in an educational way. All right, so we got Mr. Broccoli. All right, so you can show him the character.
Mr. Broccoli?
All right, so if you guys could see, we basically made vegetables like superheroes. So you know back in 1970 or 1985 or whatever when you first guys.
I'm so sorry, your time has expired.
Thank you to all our public comment speakers. Moving on to our next agenda item, action items from closed session. Item 4A, personnel recommendations. Mr. Silva, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. President. I move to approve the administration's personnel recommendations as presented in closed session with addendum.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Oh, everybody's in favor. All right, 7-0. Consent agenda, moving to item 5. Approval of the minutes for the June 3rd, 2025 special board meeting.
Pull.
Approval of the minutes for the June 10th, 2025 regular board meeting. Approval of the minutes for the June 17th, 2025 special board meeting. Approval of goods, professional services, and non-construction services exceeding $50,000 in the aggregate or $25,000 individually. E, budgetary transfers and amendments. F, bond fund capital projects budgetary transfers. G, tax refunds, overpayments, and paid in error. H, waiver of property tax penalty and interest. I, board authorization of interlocal agreements. J, approval of additional vendors related to RFP number 2021-003-1 supplies, equipment, and services for students with disabilities. K, approval of additional vendors related to RFP number 2022-101-13 miscellaneous instructional materials. L, approval of additional vendors related to RFP number 2023-102-24 services, repairs, maintenance, installation, district-wide. M, approval of additional vendors related to RFP 2024-104-41 books and publications. N, approval of RFP 2025-25 replacement of kitchen manager computers and POS systems. O, approval of additional vendors related to RFP number 2025-102D athletic and physical education equipment, supplies, and associated services. P, approval of additional vendors related to RFP 2025-106D, performing arts, equipment, rentals, supplies, and services. Q, approval of additional vendors related to RFP number 2025-107B, photography and videography services. R, approval of RFP number 2026-01-ICE, machine repairs, preventative maintenance and purchases district-wide. S, consideration of construction services for the Ross Sterling Middle School replacement project. T, revisions to board policies FD local and FM local. Pull. Mr. Silva, do I have a motion? Oh, pulled items. Returning to any pulled items. I believe we had, our first pulled item was item 5A. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, should we approve the ones exclusive of the pulled items?
Yes, we can't do that.
I have a motion for you.
All right, please.
I move to approve consent agenda items 5A through 5T exclusive of pulled items 5A and 5T.
All those in favor? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in all those in favor? All right, it passes 7-0. Returning to any pulled items, our first pulled item was item 5A. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. President. I move to approve the minutes of the June 3rd, 2025 special board meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion?
I wasn't on the board yet, so I just needed to abstain.
Got it. Okay. So, Jeremy? So any further discussion? Hearing none, I call for a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Returning to any pulled items.
Mr. President?
Yes.
You might want to announce the vote, just to be safe.
So approval of the minutes for the June 3rd, 2025 special board meeting. Do I have a motion? Am I right?
We got through all that, and it's just announcing the vote. How many in favor, how many?
I'm sorry. 5A. How many do we have in favor? 502. 502. Thank you. All right, so now returning to 5T. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. President. I move to approve and adopt board policies FD local and FM local.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Scarfo.
Go ahead, Mr. Silva had his hand up first, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I am open to hearing any input from the administration on this, but as of this moment, I'm planning on voting against the recommended policy language. I do actually believe that families who homeschool do still pay taxes into our public schools and are part of our community. I think this can provide meaningful opportunities for children, whether that's athletics, robotics, debate, theater, music, like we heard from speakers. And I haven't quite heard a compelling reason to close that door. The state is providing funding to support it. I've heard that other districts have successfully implemented it without reported issues, but even if not, for me, children over cash flow, and this is about inclusion and making space for all students in our district.
Thanks, Mr. President. Yeah, and Dr. Brown, I think that's why it was pulled. I'd like to, there's enough people, not just here, but in email conversations from constituents, that I'd like you to share the administration's thinking on this. I myself haven't come down one way or the other at this point, but, and I think some of what you shared in your email is compelling, but I'd like you to share it with why, that it's not just something being just done in a back room.
Right, right. So if you look at the TEA website, one of the things that is there is TA does, and I'm going to read it, TA does not regulate, index, monitor, approve, register, or accredit the programs available to parents who choose to homeschool. And so our students are required to meet academic and attendance standards in order to participate in UIL activities, and our schools are regulated and monitored by TEA. Plus, and Mr. Brinkley, I'm going to have you help me here, we also checked with some of the surrounding school districts, and there are several of them that are not going to allow the homeschool and private school participation in UIL activities. But what this means is if we do allow it, and Mr. Brinkley, jump in here, the law says that if a school district chooses not to, that homeschool student in that district can attend and participate in the UIL activities in the closest district that does allow it. So it wouldn't just be Humble residents, it would also be any school district around us who chooses not to allow homeschool students to participate in UIL activities. If we're the closest district to them, then they would be able to participate in our activities.
So I want to make sure I heard that right. So you're telling me that, let's just say we open up our district for UIL activities for homeschooled students. If there's a neighboring district that whose students can't play there, they can come here and we'd have to accept them.
That's correct. That's my understanding, Mr. Binkley. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
That's what the law states, and it's not a may. It appears to be a shall. There's nothing in the statute that would allow the district to prohibit that. I do want to make a point too, I'm sorry. I know we've been saying homeschool students. It is non-enrolled students. I don't want this to sound like an attack on homeschool students. This is both homeschool and private school and any other non-enrolled students who are not enrolled in a public school.
Please. Mr. Scarfo.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Brown, I thought I had it with me, but you had a pretty lengthy list. Can you name a few, because I think New Caney was on that list, I believe.
correct. So some of the larger school districts, Katy, Houston, Clear Creek, Conroe, New Caney, Cy-Fair, Galena Park, Klein, Sheldon, Goose Creek, are some of the districts that have indicated to us that they are not going to allow the non-enrolled students to participate in UL activities.
Mr. Grabowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. The parents make a decision where they're going to put their child all the time. The child belongs to the parent. I saw Mr. Roser walk in, and when I was new on the board, you opened your school to Mr. Christian Dwaron, who had a dream of being a coach. And I thank you for that a child wants to chase their dreams. I spoke to my son about this over the weekend, and he knows I'm going to say what I'm going to say. Mike Jr. struggled after he had a football injury early in his junior year. His friends that stayed on the football team for the next 2 years, which he was unable to play, kind of left him. He ended up meeting some friends that were not healthy in his life, traveled the world to drugs, and his mom and I thought we were going to lose him. Especially young males, they need a place to go. They need a team to be on other than the classroom or other than their home school. They need things to do. I was that way if it wasn't for gymnastics or hockey. I don't know where I'd be. And I think we need to open our doors to these kids. We as a district want what's best for all children. And if we have they're still going to have to make the team. They're still going to have to do things. Coaches are going to, look at their rosters, whatever the sport is. But if we can keep children from traveling the path of my son, I think that's what we should do. We should leave our doors open. I think the way we have this right now is it should be tabled and it should be looked at in a more deeper fashion. Like, what can we do? I see Coach Mack over there. We're a district of innovation. I've heard that 1,000 times. So if we can do that, can we write a letter asking for a waiver so that perhaps we give Humble ISD children that are not part of Humble ISD in the district first crack at our schools? And then can we ask, I don't know how it would be crafted. I'm not a lawyer. But I think we need to open the doors further to stop children from traveling a bad road. And I just think this, where we are right now, is not a place that I think we should finalize a vote tonight. That's just how I feel. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, Mrs. Parker.
Motion to table item 5T.
Any further discussion? Yes.
I do. I have a comment.
Mrs.
Is
Shaw.
there a way to gauge, is there a survey or something that can be done for us to understand what the volume looks like and how many students that entails within our district to see, is there an appetite for kids that want to be a part of UIL activities? Do we know that already? Have we been getting emails or?
I don't believe we've received anything. Coach, have you received any? And I don't think Fine Arts has yet either. I think we would have to
Well, and that was.
open it up and see how many applied.
Right. And so is there a way for us to actually put together some kind of survey or something that would go out to the homeschool and private school community, which it includes both, right? It's all non-enrolled students, right?
Yes, and I'm sorry, was there a second on that motion to table?
No.
I made a motion to table,
I
and
just-
there
before we-
there was no second.
Before we start discussing the logistics behind that,
Mr. Holmes recognized me. I made a motion to table.
Mr. Binkley, I didn't catch that. Can
I
we?
was just asking if there was a second on the motion to
No,
table
there
before we
wasn't.
start talking about potential reasons to table.
There was not.
Can we go back to where Mrs.
And
Parker?
so, yeah, I believe Ms. Parker has made a motion. Mr. President, do you want to ask for a second?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you for tolerating me.
Okay.
So is there a possibility of, can I go back to my discussion point of, is there a possibility of putting together a survey? No, I can't discuss, we can't.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Mr. Binkley, I still can open it for further discussion, correct? Yes.
Yes, I just want to make sure we had that second
Yes.
before we discuss.
Okay. So my further discussion point to put on record was if there's possibility to do a survey that would gauge what the volume would look like for our high schools and our middle schools on those UIL activities. I don't think it extends down to elementary, but it would be, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so if you're going to table it, then our team can certainly look at that and see how we could go about gathering that information for you. But I can't answer you directly how that would happen right now, but the team, we can get together and figure that out.
Yes, Mr. Scarfo.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Brown, I had asked you that last week, if we can get a sense of how many. You know, is it 10? Is it 1,000? I don't know, and I didn't get anything back, but that's okay. One thing, though, you really do bring up a real point on fairness, because our students who are enrolled here, they do have to meet some pretty stringent guidelines, whether it's fine arts or sports, where they, to remain eligible. And I know it's a big hook for a lot that they stay on the right track to do that. So there's that question of fairness. And then, so my question is, would there be any way to, and I know what you said about the TA doesn't do anything, is there any way for us to, probably not, about getting it, knowing about how many hours the student's putting in their homeschool? I guess you can't do that, and it's probably impossible to, you're not going to test those students to see, do they meet certain requirements? And I'm not all that concerned on that score, but I can see both sides of that. I mean, our students are held to a certain standard that these other kiddos would not, by virtue of the fact that they're non-enrolled, right? So I guess that's what we have to consider. Where do we draw that line? But I don't know if you can come up with a number for us about whether it's 100 kids, 10 kids, 1,000 kids. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if that really changes the calculus all that much, because I really do think the fairness issue is pretty crucial. I get the taxes. I get the fact that people are paying, and I've always supported that idea that those students should be able to take advantage. But you guys raised a good point about the fairness, and I hadn't thought about that before. I always thought, as Mr. Silva had said, and it's been expressed, hey, we should let these kids participate too, whether their parents own a home, whether they rent, no matter what, they're contributing to the tax base. So why not? And it's good for them, But you guys brought up a good point on the fairness.
And so don't forget on this too, that if we open this up, which that's the board's decision, and we'll certainly honor that, but it's not only opened up to Humble ISD, it's opened up to surrounding districts that if we're the closest one that's allowing it,
right,
then they get to participate as well.
Mr. Grabowski.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what I said. Fairness is an issue. Taxes are an issue. I'm a lucky dad. Mike Jr.'s a good kid. He ended up coming around, and now he's in the Army. And if we can, I know I'm saying it again, but surrounding districts don't matter to me. A lot of kids are in peril out there. If we can save them as a district, I'm all for it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Grabowski. Again, Mr. Scarfo, Mr. Grabowski, I've heard from several people from the community, both for and against, and I'll be honest with you, I was against it initially just because of the testing and the standards, right? We have within Humble ISD certain standards for you to participate in terms of grades and attendance. So I'm asking, is it an all or nothing, or can we put caveats and guideposts around that for those that are non-enrolled? I don't know.
The statute doesn't appear to allow for such caveats and guideposts.
Sorry, you can't.
Now, what I was going to say was UIL may have certain eligibility requirements, and Coach Mack may be able to speak more to that. To the statute itself, the bill is very short, and it simply says that districts, you may decline to allow.
So, yes, all right, so I believe that, so I believe it's Mrs. Sanders? Right, all right, so we can't speak out like that, okay? I know you're passionate, but here's a motion I am going to make. I make a motion, we got Mr. Kirchhoffer.
No, we already have a motion to table it, so we just need to
That's
vote
what
on
I'm
the
saying.
motion.
Yeah. We need a vote. Hearing none, I call for a vote. on Ms. Parker's original motion to table for future board business? Do we have? All right, all those in favor? Yes, to table. All right, we have 6 in favor. Do we have any opposed?
To table, yes.
Okay. All right, any abstentions? All right, so we have 6 in favor, 1 against. The motion passes for us to discuss this at future board business. Can I add a little bit of commentary around that? I would love to have a committee of homeschool, or I'm sorry, non-enrolled families, parents, because again, the overwhelming, I think, take that I'm seeing is the community wants to be involved in this type of decision, especially since they're taxpayers. So I think we do need to hear both sides of the argument. All right. We good to move on, Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
All right. 2022 bond update. Item 6A, 2022 bond update. Mr. Silva, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. President. I move to approve the guaranteed max price amendment of $2,172,046 offered by Satterfield and Pontiques for the underground detention portion of the Foster Elementary School replacement project.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second, sorry.
All right, we will now have a presentation from Dr. Jason Siebert.
Good evening, members and Dr. Brown. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you an update on the 22 bond. It's been a long time since we've talked to the board as a whole to let you know where we're at with the bond. So start with a recap. The bond was approved, Proposition A, which was the construction part of the bond, on May 7th, 2022 for approximately $730 million. So that incorporated a variety of major projects, which we're going to talk about today to give you an update. We're going to start with the ones that are completed, the ones that are in progress, and then other ones we're working towards. So the first one that got started and completed was the baseball, softball, turf. I don't know if that's correlated all the success they've had lately or not, but that was the first project completed. So all four high schools, Atascocita, Kingwood Park, and Summer Creek, received turf at all their baseball and softball fields. So if you've been to one of their games, it's great and a great view and a great playing surface for those teams as well. The next project that rolled out that took place was a Summer Creek High School edition. With all the growth happening in our community at that time, there was approximately 40 classroom addition. 35 of those classes were general classes. 5 were CTE and science rooms. There was collaboration areas, and then something different because how big they're going to be. There was a satellite dining commons, which I believe they use for the freshman class to eat their lunches there at Summer Creek High School. So here's a picture, and then here's some other pictures of the dental lab, a general classroom, and then a corridor. That took about a year to complete. The contractor on this one was Satterfield and Pontiques, the one you approved there for the Ross Sterling rebuild as well. The next project that got started was Lake Houston Middle School. So this is an exciting new school to help with the growth that was happening in that area for the middle school students. So that one actually received occupancy at the end of May, beginning of June. It's ready to open this August and accept students. It holds about 1,250 students. It's going to alleviate the overcrowding that's currently taking place at Autumn Ridge, Westlake, and Wood Creek Middle. So we're planning to send an invite with some calendar dates if you want to come take a walk of it, tour it, see what it looks like before it opens. But we do have a preview with some pictures. So they're the Hawks, so you can see the nice new gym. And then we have outside courtyard and then a classroom. If you haven't driven down Timber Forest, you can go to where Timber Forest dead ends. You can see it right there. It's a really nice looking school. The next one that's going to open this year as well is Summerwood Elementary Edition. So there's lots of elementary growth. Centennial's been overcrowded. So we're adding 14 classrooms to the Summerwood Elementary School. 6 of them are ready to open at the end of this month, the beginning of August, that are in the front of the school. Then we're going to have 8 that open in the back, and then there's also collaboration space and a flex room. And we have here, so you can see the brick going in the front, right where those first 6 classrooms are going to go. So this year, we're accepting kindergartners. A couple months ago, the board approved boundary changes. So kindergartners that normally would have gone to Centennial are going to Summerwood this year. And then next year, everybody from this side of the area is going to be going to Summerwood Elementary as well. The next project that got started is the Mosaic Project, something I know near and dear to a lot of people in the community and the school district as well. So this Mosaic building, the first floor will house the Mosaic program and staff. They'll be moving from the CLC right next door into this space specifically designed for them and for what their program is and for those 18 to 21-year-old special education students. The second floor is actually office space for the special education staff. Right now they're spread out amongst different parts of the district, and so a lot of them will be able to be housed in this area. Yeah.
Dr. Saber, what is, so the public will know, late 2025 mean? Is it October? Is it December? Just to give everybody a idea.
Right now the target's the end of November, early December is what it's looking like right now. And here's some renderings on the right of what it's going to look like on the inside. And then if you've driven down Timber Forest and driven by, you really can't see much because of the trees and how far back it is. So you can see from the drone shot how much is taking place on the back side of the building as well. So that's the Mosaic building. That'll open November, December this year. I know Mr. Phipps has told his staff they'll move in January is what the plan is. The next project another project that's underway is Humble High Phase 2. If you've driven by lately, you've seen lots of fencing up, lots of work going on the front of the building. We're adding 12 general classrooms, 4 science labs. There's a 3rd new practice gym being built on the very end of the other 2 gyms, cosmetology lab and a barbering lab. The cosmetology lab is going to be in the back of the school, kind of next to Turner Stadium, and then additional parking back there by Turner Stadium as well. That one is underway. It's supposed to be completed next fall for the school year next year. After that, we have Foster Elementary. So it's a school you've heard a lot about, we've talked to the community about. This one is going to be opening, right now the plan is to open in the fall of 2026. And we had a community meeting. We've heard a lot of discussion about the underground detention. So wanted to give you an update about that. So we've worked with the contractor once we got the survey results, and we're working with them prior to seeing the results. And they worked with the architect and the engineer. They were able to come up with some designs. The contractor was able to price it. So the current design is about $2,172,046 to add underground detention to both underground detention areas that we were originally going to be open detention. With that, we can order that material once the permit's approved. So the city of Houston, you never know what permitting is going to look like. Sometimes it's a tedious process. So we have worked with Mr. Flickinger's office before. They've been very helpful in helping us try to speed up some of the permits. So if this is approved this evening, we'll amend the contract, and then they'll submit for permit very shortly. And once the permit's approved, then the contractor can order the material. It's about a 35-day material lead time. They're about 8 to 12 weeks to install. So I can't promise it'll still open in the fall of 26, but that's what we're shooting for, depending how long it takes to get the permit. We are looking at keeping the larger parking. There was a discussion about parking, but with the underground detention, making the larger amount of parking spaces, approximately 124 spots. And then we would move the playground approximately sort of where that star is where it would go next to the field or on part of the field. So the field and the playground are connected. So any questions about that? Nope, all right. Okay, so another thing that's been taking place throughout the whole bond program is outdoor play and fitness projects. At the elementary level, we have about 31 buildings, including the early childhood center. So 19 of the playgrounds are complete. Some of you have been to openings for those. 5 are under construction, 4 are on order, and 4 are finalizing design, including the Foster playground. Additionally, with outdoor play and fitness, at the middle schools, we have outdoor fitness, then some of them have ninja courses. So we have 5 middle schools that have both outdoor fitness and ninja. We have 2 middle schools that have only outdoor fitness. We have 3 high schools that have a completed ninja course. At Humble High, this week, the contractor's planning to start a junior ROTC course, specifically designed and worked with the ROTC teachers to work on that. So that's going to be started this week and open late this summer. And then we're working on finding a location for an ROTC course at Kingwood High School. So some projects that are under development. We have a lot of middle school projects that are under development. The first one, Ross Sterling Middle School. You approved tonight the contractor manager at risk. So that's a different procurement method, same way we did at Foster. So that was approved. So we're almost done with design. They're going to help us get the price to the budget so we can move forward with that project. Humble High Phase 3 is a little bit down the road. Ross Sterling has to be built before we do Humble High Phase 3 because the people in the southeast corner wing will move to Ross Sterling while we tear that down at Humble High and then update all those CTE classrooms. Riverwood, Creekwood, Atascocita, and Humble Middle are scheduled to get dance room additions, upgrades to their fine arts and CTE programs, and a new practice gym. Most of these middle schools only have one practice gym. Timberwood Middle School scheduled to get a dance room addition, a fine art CT upgrades, a new practice gym, and a weight room. That was something that didn't happen in the 18 bond, so they're going to get it with this plan. Wood Creek Middle, we get a dance room addition, then fine art CT upgrades, and then Autumn Ridge and Westlake don't have dance rooms. So our first dance room in the district is actually at Lake Houston Middle School. When you walk that one, you'll see they do have a dance room, so they're not on the list anywhere. And Kingwood Middle will eventually get a dance room as well. However, one of the things that we ran into recently, you may have heard tariffs and things like that are going on. We had a project out to bid right around the time the tariff started. And Creekwood Riverwood, their dance room, fine arts, and CT addition upgrade and their second gym, we put that out to bid. And when that came in, it came in 38% over the bond advisory committee budget, which is something that's not very sustainable. That's kind of, we can't move forward with projects if they're going to be 38% over what we were experiencing. Because we just can't. You got to stay in budget. So with that, what we're recommending, because we're excited, originally the number we were told about Foster Elementary's underground detention was about $4,065,000. However, you can see now it's a little lower. So that's a positive step, and we're hoping projects eventually trend in that direction. But that's why I believe about 2 meetings ago, we had this on the agenda, then we pulled it. If you remember that meeting, it was just pulled from the agenda. That's why we pulled it. So what we're recommending doing is move forward with the Foster Underground Detention, is the motion that's currently on the table. Move forward with the Ross Sterling Middle School. We have a CMAR on board for that one. That's the same method we did for Foster. Foster's been very smooth on budget. And then Timberwood Middle School is a similar project to Riverwood and Creekwood, but a little smaller scale. So put that one out to bid, let things settle for a couple weeks, put it out to bid, and see if that one comes in at 38% higher, or as the market shifted, did it come down a little bit? Did we just do it at a wrong time? For instance, Billy always uses the example with his smartness. He didn't sell the bonds, waited a month and a half, and saved $7 million. Could we be doing that with this as well by bidding this one out now and seeing if it changed? However, as we wait and see what those numbers come in, review our timeline before moving forward with some of the other projects. So we're talking about Humble High Phase 3, Riverwood, Creekwood, Atascocita, and Humble School, and all the middle school projects. The ninja courses at Riverwood, Arms, Lake Houston Middle School, Timberwood, and Atascocita Middle, and the child nutrition building expansion update. So that's kind of our plan. Put Timberwood out, work on Ross Sterling, see where those numbers come in. If they're lower than 38, then we can look at 38%. Then we can see where our timeline is before moving forward with these projects. So that's all I had. That's a quick update, I know. Any questions or any other follow-up you need from me about the bond and where we're at this time?
Sir, this is only meant for the board. Sorry. Any further discussion from the board members? Yes, Mr. Silva.
Just for the public record, the amount and the design that you just put up there for Foster Elementary, how closely does that match the survey results that we got from the community?
Well, they wanted the underground detention, so it adds the underground detention. The parking, they had voted at the time, because it wasn't like an if this, then, it wasn't a choose your own adventure. They wanted, in a sense, less parking, but that would have given them a little more green space without the underground detention. So now that the underground detention's there, we figured if you go to an elementary school, especially if there's an event, there's people all over for 4 blocks. So we were trying to provide as much parking for staff as well. The school's built to hold 850 students. So the school before only held 600, I believe, was the maximum capacity, and only had 84 spots. And so we have another school that has a little bigger capacity, and they have 150 spots. So we're trying to maximize the parking, because if we fill it with 850, we're gonna have 124 staff members there, which means there'd be no parking for anybody or anybody else. So that's why we're recommending keeping the larger parking, and there was a lot of consensus to move the playground as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question as
Yep.
well. On the Summerwood, can you go back to the slide on Summerwood?
Mhm.
We talked about rezoning, right? And you're going to get an increase of capacity here at Summerwood Elementary. Have we looked at the projections for right sizing, that we're not going to be building another campus?
Yeah, you want me to? Yeah, from all the studies that the passive people have shown, we're gonna be we shouldn't have to build another elementary school based on the growth projections. We're flat, right there.
And that goes for middle school as well.
Middle
So
school as well.
We should be complete with our elementary and our middle schools. Yeah.
That's great, thank you.
Well, and high schools as well, yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
All right. The gentleman that tried to ask the question, if you can wait till after the board meeting, we definitely will try to answer that for you, okay? All right. All those in favor, all those in favor? It's a bond update.
It is an action
It
item.
is an action item.
And what we're asking you to approve is the underground detention for Foster
So this is inclusive
Elementary
of Foster.
at the 2.1 million.
Oscar, can you read that motion again?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. Silva.
I move to approve the guaranteed maximum price amendment 4 of $2,172,046 offered by Satterfield and Ponticus for the underground detention portion of the Foster Elementary School replacement project.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Scarfo.
I guess I was just a little surprised by some of the comment, since this was on the agenda to approve, and we did look at the survey results, and that's why I know in building and planning, we pushed our construction and facilities department to come up with a workable solution, which they did, and it actually was a lot better than when we talked about it 2 months ago. So that was great, because we were thinking more in the neighborhood of $3.5 to $4 million, and now it's down to $2.2 million. So that's good all around. Yeah, I just get tired sometimes of some of the negative comments by certain people. It's just, and I don't mean the people who spoke about the putting the underground detention, but the people who attack, and I don't get why. It just amazes me. But we got it done, thanks to our construction group and Dr. Sabert for pushing this as a very good offer for us and something that we need to do. And I think it meets the needs of what the community asked for. And we also, again, as it was said, we learned from this process, if we're and we will be over time, to have to replace other small footprint elementary schools in particularly north of the district, where most of that will be. There are some, but they have more room south of the district, the older ones I'm talking about. So we will face that same issue. So I believe we've learned from that process that we can look at that from the get-go to how we can do that and build that into the cost. So it's not a surprise, and we're not scurrying around trying to find money, hoping that it comes in lower than we think it might, and we can go ahead and do it. So good lessons learned, great community input, and appreciate all of those people who were involved in that. And again, thank you for staff and Dr. Brown for really going out of the way to come up with a workable solution. And I think this is one that is. Thank you.
Mrs. Parker.
Truly just want to thank the community for your feedback. You did a good job letting us know how you felt, and now we know. I want to thank Ms. Mount and her team for organizing everything, and Mr. Siebert, Dr. Brown, thank everybody for your hard work on this, and I think we're going to do it right now.
Kirchhoffer? Oh, no? Okay. All those in favor? All right, motion passes 7-0. Item 6B, TASB Board of Directors Candidate Endorsement, Region 4, Position C. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. President. I move to approve the endorsement of Crystal Carbone for election to the TASB Board of Directors, Region 4, Position C.
Do I have a second? It dies. All right, motion dies
Motion dies for lack of a second.
for lack of a second. All right. Item 6C, Board Committees. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. President. I move to dissolve all committees except for the Board Audit Committee and the Safety and Security Committee.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? Okay. Mr. Silva?
I was probably going to lead you to whatever you're going to say. I assume that this was led by you, so could you help me understand the
Sure.
motivation of the motion?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's multifaceted for me, and why I wanted to do this is, one, I think in fairness to Mr. Silva, you, Mrs. Shaw, it is hard being a board member, and I've been a board member 3.5 years. It is hard to get up to speed on every facet of whether you're a parliamentarian, vice president, president, secretary, but also when we're on these committees, you have equal shares in terms of the vote, equal power. But sometimes when you're not on the Building and Planning Committee, you're sometimes left to those committee updates, but we have a very, very big district in terms of what we're doing, so sometimes you're left not knowing as much as you could. So what I wanted to try to do was just bring everybody up to speed as quickly as possible. And again, that's out of fairness to, again, our two newest board members. I also wanted to do this in terms of transparency to the community. Wanted to possibly start workshopping, the board building and planning committee where it's open to the public. Now, they might not be able to comment, but it's open to the public. The advocacy committee, all of us are really advocates for children, so all of us should be on that committee. We've already done away with the superintendent committee, where we're now all part of that committee, so it's really no committee. I'm doing it, one, to create transparency, again, really on the board building and planning committee, and also possibly to workshop, as some other districts do, the finance meeting. If there's anything in closed session that we can't discuss, maybe it's a purchase or sale of some real estate, we go into closed session, but the community is aching for transparency and just being able to see what goes on. And that's why I was doing it, Mr. Silva. So again, multifaceted. Now, again, the three committees that I still believe, or two committees that I still believe need to be committees, are safety and security, which I would hope that Mr. Grabowski would still want to lead, and the audit committee, which I still would want Mr. Kirchhoffer to be a part of, along with myself and Mr. Grabowski as vice president. Finance committee, Mr. Scarfo brings a wealth of experience. I still would want him, not necessarily leading the committee, but he's an elder statesman when it comes to finance. Not talking about age, Mr. Scarfo, but just you've been doing this a while and that's your background. Mrs. Parker with advocacy, still again leading that, but we're all part of it. So I hope that makes sense on why I wanted to just eliminate all the committees with the exception of those two. Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Scarfo.
Yeah, well,
Well, first off, I don't think there was a lot of board interest since you had to second the motion. I think a better idea would be, and I'll make an amendment to the motion, because I really don't think it's necessary for every board member to attend every one of those meetings, and for you to lay on 6 additional, or whatever it is, 4 or 5 additional workshops for us to have to attend when those committees or so-called workshops happen. I just think that's really not very cognizant of our time as well, and also appreciative of our time. So I would rather, because going back years, I have tried a number of times, going back to, I think it was 2020, about making all the committee meetings, all the committees, their meetings to be posted meetings so that the public can attend and they can listen. There might be times when in building and planning you have to go into closed session because you're discussing a contract that you're going to put out, and you don't want to give out that information just yet. And there's times in finance where you might have to do that too, times in safety committee where you might have to go into closed session on certain things, but not all. And I gave examples all the time, all the entities that did this, from Congress, the House and the Senate, State Board of Education, Texas Senate, Texas House, various authority boards under the Harris County Commissioners Court, Sports Authority for one, Housing Authority, the City of Houston, they have their committee meetings in public. And so I pushed that to no avail a number of times over the last few years. So I think it would behoove us and be more respectful of our time, and also get us to really following the spirit of the government code about the fact that we're doing the people's business, and it should be done under the most light as possible. And they should know, the public should see, and we should be as transparent as we can be. Like I said, there are times when you do need to go into closed session, and I get that, but I offer up this amendment. And I should have made some copies so you guys could see it, but my amendment is to change the motion to say, dissolve the Technology Committee and convene the Advocacy Committee only in years when a biannual legislative session is held. Further, move to post all Finance, Building and Planning, and Safety Committee meetings, making them open to the public and fulfilling the spirit of Government Code Section 552.001. And further move that a review is made by all committees as to the current stated purpose and scope of work of those committees, and propose any appropriate changes for consideration of the full board at the September or October regular board meeting. So the motion I put out there as an amendment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a question on that. I mean, I would have seconded that as well, but I have a question on dissolving, what's the nature of dissolving the Technology Committee? Is that not needed anymore, or is that a committee that doesn't exist or doesn't meet?
I'll put it like this. Mr. Scarfo, did you want, I was over it. I will say,
Is why wouldn't we have that as also a committee that would meet openly?
I think I'm in agreement with what Mr. Scarfo, the spirit of what Mr. Scarfo is saying. I still would like the Technology Committee because we're a big district and it's a lot of technology. So I would want to alter the motion, but I like what Mr. Scarfo is stating, with the exception of, and I'd love Mr. Grabowski to weigh in, if possible, on Safety and Security Committee. I did also want to make sure you were aware, when I brought this motion, it was to have this discussion. I wasn't talking about having 4 to 5 additional workshops per month. It was when it was necessary for those particular committees. So I was thinking 1 workshop additional per month, Mr. Scarfo. So I didn't want you thinking I was trying to have 4 to 5 meetings a month in addition to a board meeting. Mr. Grabowski? Mrs. Parker.
So, and I'm not going to make an amendment, a motion to amend the amendment, but I would like to keep technology and I would like to keep safety in closed session, not publicly posted. And Mr. Grabowski could speak to that, Chief Cook could speak to that. I think it's wise to keep that particular committee closed.
Grabowski.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mrs. Parker. I totally agree. I think Chief Cook would totally agree. We do everything we can to keep staff, children, everybody safe, everybody secure as we can. We're looking into the future, where our weaknesses are, where our strengths are. You don't want the guy with bad intent to know what we're thinking. And I would be a very strong advocate. I'm not going to speak for Chief Cook. I hope you ask him the same question, Mr. President, but it should stay totally closed, safety and security.
That being said, Mrs. Shaw.
I was just going to say, but the amendment that you said, Robert, had dissolved technology committee, correct?
Yes, it did. And honestly, Mr. Holmes, you told me that you wanted to disband that committee. And that it really had, after trying for a year, really didn't serve the purpose that we had hoped. So that's why I had that there, okay? I don't believe in committees for committee's sake. I mean, Mr. Binkley, I can change my motion, my amendment, based on what people said. I don't have a problem with that, but as I said, I did it because I included that because you had conversations with me, because I was on that for a while, and then I said, hey, you know what, I need to step off because I had too much. And then you said, you know, I don't know that we're going to,
No,
because you chaired it.
That's correct. The reason why is, one, I felt it was so many committees and time intensive. So that's why I can't do this and all the other board functions. However, Mrs. Shaw, if you were
I was just
willing
going
to.
to say, so you would just need to amend that motion by taking off the dissolved technology committee and keeping it to what Chris just said, right? We would keep
safety
And I think it also
closed.
needs to be further amended to keep safety and security enclosed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just my opinion, but.
Mr. President, I was going to say, the reason I had put safety, I understand that, and I understand that probably a good part of it, you might have to be in closed session, but there are some aspects of safety that we do that I think is good for the community to know that we're doing these things, and they're not secrets, so we're not giving away the secrets of the realm on some of those things, but I think maybe it gives parents and community members a better sense that, oh, okay, yeah, they're thinking about this, they're doing this. You can, when you talk about doing tabletop exercises, about, results. I'm kind of spitballing here, but that was my intent, and I understand that probably maybe 2/3 of the time in the safety committee you'd have to convene at the closed session, but I think there's parts of that where it would be good for the community to know at large that, here's some of the things they're doing without giving away the secrets. Because I understand that, I really do. If that's the will, again, we could amend the amendment, and I have no issue with that. It also says I didn't hear anybody say anything about the advocacy committee making a change to that. I said only in years it's in session.
It's a great idea.
Okay. So, Mr. Binkley, guide me. I mean, I can go back and change this, what I put out there, given what people have said. If everybody's finished, you tell me about safety.
I think you just amended, you can just.
Yeah, as long as we keep audit is still committee closed, right?
Right.
I don't think you mentioned it,
I
but
didn't have audit, yeah, right.
we need to make sure we add that.
But I want to defer to Mr. Grabowski in terms, that gives you a lot of heartburn. If that gives you a lot of heartburn, I'd be willing to amend my.
No, it doesn't
amendment.
give me a lot of heartburn. I'm trying to come up in my mind what percentage of the meeting would be worthwhile for the people that are going to come down there.
May I make a recommendation regarding safety? Because those kind of presentations that are more high level for community and public knowledge are actually things that can be brought to the full board meeting and presented there, rather than requiring members of the public to come down in the hopes that maybe something will be talked about in the safety committee that can be open, whereas it can be a planned informational presentation at a board meeting, which I know we're doing more of with this administration and this board as it is.
That makes sense. I'll go ahead and
Can you amend it?
Do you want me to go ahead and just read it? But I know we've seconded it.
Can you reread the amendment? Just
The initial one?
yes.
Okay. It says, amend to say, dissolve the Technology Committee and convene the Advocacy Committee only in years when a biannual legislative session is held. And then further, move to post all Finance, Building and Planning, and Safety Committee meetings, making them over to the public, fulfilling the spirit of Government Code, Section 552001. And then, I just think this part's important, that we do need to take a look at the stated purpose and the scope of work of committees. And that's what the last part of the motion talks about. I didn't hear anybody say anything negative about that part.
It was just the dissolved technology.
Okay.
And so, best course of action then maybe, I think Ms. Parker mentioned, moving to amend the amendment. Given what that may look like, that may be the simplest piece.
So do you want me to amend my amendment, or let Mrs. Parker?
Let somebody else
Yeah, it's
do
fine.
it.
I
Yes,
want to
Mrs.
say
Parker.
something before I amend the amendment. I agree, I understand about the biannually, about the advocacy committee. I see where you're going with that. But city government is active all year, every year. Federal government is active all the time. So I think that it's, and the other thing is, right now is the time to start lobbying our Senate, our Texas Senate and Texas House members right now for the legislative session in 2 years. So, my amendment would be keep advocacy as it is, keep safety private, and keep the technology committee. That would be the amendment. But I can state it more formally.
We should
Need to add audit committee still staying closed, because it wasn't in that motion, so does that make, okay. Oh, you did.
Mr. President, by exclusion, it stays that it wouldn't be posted. But to what Mrs. Parker just said, I don't know, well, we'll have to vote on it, I guess, because I kind of heard two sides on safety. But that's fine.
From Chief Cook on, and I don't know, you probably would have to go to the podium on what your take is on keeping it closed or open.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Well, actually, I wear two hats. I'm over police department and I'm over also the district safety, emergency management. And there's opportunities to where we should communicate with the public to let them know that the district has taken certain precautions with the tabletop exercises, and that we also do adhere to the state rules and policies for school safety. Now, on the security side, there are some things that we should not publicize the same way that municipals and the county governments do. Certain things that they keep in closed sessions because of a safety level, and you don't want to let everybody know how you protect certain areas.
Thank you, Chief. So I know Mr. Binkley had made mention of making mention of those things that are open to the public regarding safety and security, doing that during a board meeting, right? Because does it sound like, Mr. Grabowski, Chief, it sounds like about 2/3 of the meeting is going to be closed session?
It's at least that. There are times where the entire meeting is about a topic that just will be 100% closed.
So, Mr. Scarfo, could you amend it Okay, thank you.
I have no pride of
Okay.
authorship. I mean, we can certainly take out, just leave dissolve the technology committee, because you're still on board with that, or you want to leave the technology committee?
Let's leave it.
Okay, so then I guess really, and I heard what Mrs. Parker said, so maybe the first two sentences should be deleted from my original motion, and then just have it say, move to post all finance, building and planning, and advocacy instead of
Love it.
safety. And she can say it, she can read it, advocacy, making them open to the public, blah, 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 and then that last piece on looking at the purpose and scope of work. So I have no issue with that, to change it to that, and let advocacy stand but a posted meeting where people can participate or listen.
Can you, just in fairness to slow us
Do-
down?
yeah,
just
do you
a
want me
little
to
bit? Can
read
you
it?
one more time?
Okay,
just without
yeah.
the two statements? Thank you.
Mr. Binkley, tell me if I'm okay doing this. So I would amend the motion that was original motion to dissolve all committees to say, move to post all finance, building and planning, and advocacy committee meetings, making them open to the public, fulfilling the spirit of Government Code, Section 552001. Further move that a review is made by all committees as to the current stated purpose and scope of work, and proposing any appropriate changes for consideration of the full board at the September or October regular board meeting.
Okay, and so I think my recommendation is to be, if y'all will excuse me for being super hyper-technical and nitpicky, what I would recommend then is for Mr. Scarfo to request a leave from board president to withdraw his amendment, and then he can remake the amendment, get a second, we can vote on the amendment, and then we can vote on the motion as amended.
All right, so do I make a motion to withdraw the amendment?
Well, I think Mr. Scarfo just
Okay.
needs to ask for
Oh, okay.
leave to withdraw his amendment.
Mr. President, may I withdraw my first amendment to that motion that was made?
Yes, Mr. Scarfo.
Thank you. Okay, so do I need to read it again?
Yes,
One more time.
please.
Okay. All right. I would like to amend the current motion to dissolve all committees that was read by the parliamentarian to instead say, move to post all finance, building and planning, and advocacy committee meetings, making them open to the public, fulfilling the spirit of Government Code Section 552.001. And you ought to read that. Further, move that a review is made by all committees as to the current stated purpose and scope of work, and propose any appropriate changes for consideration of the full board at the September or October regular board meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right. The vote passes, the motion passes 7-0.
And so that was the motion to amend. The board now needs to vote on, and I think that was a pretty wholesale amendment, but if you'll just satisfy me and have the board now vote on the original motion as amended.
Item 6C, board committees.
We don't need to
We don't need to
reread it
do all
because
that.
you just approved the amendment. Now we just need to vote on the motion as amended.
Can we now vote on the motion as amended? Do I have a second?
You've already got a second. You just need to take the vote.
Oh.
Yes, this is a lot.
All in favor? Vote passes 7-0 on the amendment. Jeremy, thank you for being technical.
Mr. President, I'd just like to say it took 5 years, but to try to push transparency, but glad we finally got there. See how I'm like a dog on a bone. Yeah.
This is what the spirit of that, of this being placed on the agenda was for, so I'm glad we have that.
Mr. President.
Next is, yes.
While my mic is on, and before we move away from action items, may I provide the board a brief point of clarity on my answer to the last question on the UIL policy matter? Under the bill and the statute, I may have either misunderstood the question or just need to provide clarity. The statute does have some eligibility requirements, but the district cannot go in and modify those and change those. So I know there was a little bit of concern in the audience with that, and what we'll do as part of this being tabled is I'll make sure to provide some additional clarity on that to the board, what those eligibility pieces are, and I'll certainly work with Coach Mack on any UIL eligibility pieces, but I didn't want my answer to create further frustration in the community or a lack of clarity for the board.
Go ahead, Mr. Grabowski.
Counselor, does the District of Innovation that we are give us any leeway to modify?
I would have to look, but I believe it doesn't. I believe this is probably going to be excluded from that. There have been a number of things that are excluded from being able to sort of DOI out of, as you know, the lingo we use. But I would have to look at that and get you an answer. And I don't want to reopen that whole item. I just wanted to provide that piece of clarity before we move on.
No, I'm glad you did, because this board would have probably had about 50 to 100 emails. We probably already do.
I didn't want to interrupt the bond
Thank you.
presentation.
No,
so I
interrupt
didn't
any
get in
time
more
for
quickly,
that.
but-
Interrupt for clarity. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. We appreciate that. Next is our information items. Item 7A, intruder detection audit report. Mr. Perkins.
I have no report tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Any questions or discussion from the board regarding this item? Regarding the intruder detection audit report. I mean, if you have any questions, okay? All right. Moving on to item 7B, discussion of House Bill 1481 and presentation of options for implementation.
All right, good evening, trustees. And I don't think my item is going to be near as challenging tonight anyway as what the last item was. So I am tonight your facilitator for 1481, and I say facilitator because I'm going to help facilitate the discussion tonight. It is an informational item tonight, and we are providing some recommendations. We've made no decisions because the decision-making within 1481 does rest with the board. So the presentation that I'm providing tonight is essentially almost identical to the information that you received last week from Dr. Brown regarding the item. I also have brought in tonight, I have a few building principals back here in the room, so I think I have a couple of principals from every level. If you have questions about, how might it be implemented specifically on a campus and you want to hear from them specifically, so I brought some of them in tonight just in case we have questions for them. In our planning process and developing these recommendations for you tonight, there are four kind of key tenets that we took into account. One of those was we're not providing any recommendations. Obviously, they're going to violate the law. So everything here tonight is following the law as stated in 1481. We did want to do standardization across all of our campuses, not every campus. So secondary is standardized. Elementary will be a little bit different. But from all of our high schools, we wanted it to be standardized across the board. We wanted fair, equitable, and consistent discipline consequences. The board is also required to approve the consequences as part of your written policy for 1481. And then the recommendations were developed with all the building principals, did have input into the recommendations, and carried most of the weight in the recommendations that we have for you tonight. So let's move on to what is House Bill 1481 to create some common language and make sure we're all on the same page. This is wording right directly from 1481, requiring boards to adopt a written policy prohibiting students from using that personal communication device, and for abbreviation purposes, PCDs is what I'll refer to throughout the rest of the presentation, on school property during the school day. So what is a personal communication device? That definition that you see up there is word for word out of 1481. The last part there in parentheses, when you read and talk about a device capable of telecommunication or digital communication, in our mind that does include things like laptops, because an Apple laptop acts just like a cell phone. You can link your iPhone to it and text away. The AirPods, Beats, and the handheld gaming devices, those all can be linked Bluetooth to your device. Regular PC laptops can also have apps that will allow you to communicate directly with phones. So again, that's not district created definition, that's not my created definition, that's the definition right out of 1481. So from there, there is a decision that we need to make first. And in 1481, it states that a school district and a board must determine one or the other. And we're not recommending the first one up there, which is essentially ban cell phones altogether from even coming on the campus. So we're not recommending that. So that leads us to the second option there, is designing a method for storage. And there's a little, what is a method of storage? And we're about to explore that while on school property during the school day. So, of course, the school day would also need to be defined, which we have. Our recommendation for method of storage is going to be backpack, purse, or pocket. The device cannot be visible, and the PCD must be turned off and remain silent and stowed away for the entire school day. Now, there are other methods of storage, and that's what my next slide kind of talks about, because there's a lot of discussion about a pouch. Yonder pouches are one of the most popular options that are on the market. There are other districts that do Yonder pouches, and we explored that. And at this time, our campus administrators, while I do have a few principals, 3 to be exact, who replied today that they would volunteer on a pilot program in Yonder, there are several reasons currently that we are not recommending that we go out and purchase Yonder pouches for all secondary students. As you can see up there, there is a very high cost initially to start up. I think they quoted us initially about $600,000 to do all of our secondary campuses, which would include some extra pouches. But there are some operational considerations that need to be taken into account as well for the campuses on trying to implement something like a Yonder pouch. There are issues with students can easily bypass the pouch. There's a YouTube video out there. It's all you need is a pencil, a little bit of pressure on one side, a little bit of pressure on the other when it opens. Now, Yonder would say that they fixed that issue. I don't know for sure. I haven't tested it myself to see. But also, students who come to school and want to keep their cell phone on them could do one of 2 things very easily. They can either take we all have a drawer of old cell phones at the house. We just pull the old one out, and when I'm walking in the building, I drop that one in the pouch, close it up, and I have my regular phone in my backpack or my pocket. They could also walk into school. The street smart student would walk onto the campus and go, Mr. Perkins, I don't have my cell phone on me today. I kept it at home because I knew I wasn't supposed to have it out. And so you see, we're not going to search a student's backpack to see if they have their cell phone on them. So there are easy ways if you want to bypass the pouch, to bypass the pouch. The student who's going to try to bypass the pouch later on will essentially be the same student who tries to violate the policy and pull their cell phone out during the day at that point.
Ms.
Yes,
Berger,
sir.
and our walkthroughs wouldn't pick up a phone, a mobile device.
Not the settings on the weapons detection systems do not pick up the cell phones.
I just wanted people to know that.
The way we currently have them set, correct. So it is an option. I know you might want to discuss it, and as I go later on through the presentation and we get to the end, if you have questions about this, I won't go into in depth about the other considerations about a lost pouch and what you do with the lost pouch. And there would be an annual maintenance upkeep, because when a student loses a pouch, what do you do? When they come to school and they don't have a pouch, but they still have their cell phone, do we give them a loaner pouch? Are we going to expect them to bring the loaner pouch back at the end of the day? Are we charging students for a lost pouch? What about an economically disadvantaged student? Are we charging that student as well? You see there's some other operational considerations that we would have to take into account if the board would like us to move towards a pouch as a method of storage. So a little bit of explanation of why we are recommending tonight that we not approach and just an all-out, spend $500,000 on pouches. All right, so from there, let's talk about definition of school day. There was consensus that the school day needed to start from our campus administrators. They wanted to start it when the student walked on campus. For all of our high schools, they walk through the evolved weapon detection system as they come into the building each day, and that's a perfect opportunity, a kind of a gateway that says as you make your way across that, the phone will have to be stored away for the rest of the day. And middle schools were also, when you walk through the door in the mornings, that's when the phone needs to be stored away. And there was consensus also at the end of the day, the final bell should be the ending of the school day. It signifies the ending of the school day. That would allow students to get their phone out in the building. If I'm going to stay for Algebra 2 tutorials today, I didn't tell my parents I was going to stay. I don't have to go outside and then try to come back in. So logically, the end of the school day would be that final bell. So this is going to be a question, and House Bill 1481 does not have a provision that would allow a classroom teacher to allow students to have their phone out. And so I think this ensures equitable and consistency across the campus. When you walk on the campus at the beginning of the day, the expectation is that your cell phone gets stored away and it's on silent and it doesn't come out until the final bell. And so we've been asked, the principals asked me specifically. I worked with Jeremy. We looked at the 1481 again, and we just don't see a provision in there that allows classroom teachers to allow, I have it's third period and my class comes in, and there's not a provision currently that allows the teacher to say, all right, everybody, you can get your phones out and we're going to do this Kahoot exercise. It doesn't allow for that. So our next kind of decision and as we move through this process is, so what happens when a student's in violation of the policy? Do we take the phone up or not take the phone up? The consensus among the campus administrators is, in order to have something in place that is a deterrent for students to take their phone out, they want to take them up. They want to be able to take the phone up from the student and then issue a consequence after that, which is essentially on my next slide. So there are some processes and operational things that we need to work through and training that will be need to conducted with administrators, because we are not expecting teachers to pick up cell phones in the classroom. If there's a cell phone that happens to be out in a classroom and the teacher sees that, there are already processes in place on our campuses to call for administrators to come to classrooms for a student that may be disrupting the class that they need help with. So those processes already exist and are in place on our campuses. So to use that process to call for an administrator to come by a classroom, and then that administrator comes by the class, then the teacher, whether that's cell phone or the actual telephone that's in the classroom, or whether that might be an email, at some point with a teacher sends that during the class, whether that's 2 minutes later, 5 minutes later, or 10 minutes later, an administrator will come by that classroom, and our students and teachers are used to administrators coming in classrooms for walkthroughs and things of that nature, so it's not disruptive to the class. Administrator simply comes in there and says, Terry, I need you to step out here in the hallway. That situation will not be handled in front of the class. And so when Terry comes out in the hallway, then the administrator goes through the process as we will train them to do, and then asks for the phone from the student. If the student hands the phone over, the student might go right back into class. If the student doesn't, then we may need to walk down to the office, get parents on the phone, and we'll talk about those in just a second. But those are our initial kind of discussions with our administrators. That's how they prefer to handle those situations. And they would all have to develop a process to secure the phone, to identify the phone, use a form or something. Each campus would use a way to identify it so that the phone moves from the administrator's hands, maybe to the assistant principal secretary, but it has to eventually make its way to the front office. While we might not have done a lot of that recently, those veteran administrators like myself remember 8-10 years ago, we did this often, and we had processes in place to do it, and it worked just fine. So when we start talking about disciplinary consequences, the board does need to approve the actual specific discipline consequences for a violation or an infraction of the PCD policy. And so this is our initial recommendation to the board on what a first, second, third, fourth, fifth offense may look like. That a first offense our administrators were also consistent in saying that first offense really needs to come with a consequence. And that would be maybe something like a D-Hall to start, because we will have to track this. It is a student code of conduct violation. It will have to be entered into the student information system, eSchool, so we will be able to track that. We will be able to track the number of offense for that particular student and assign the appropriate consequence. On the first offense, we thought maybe that the student should be allowed to pick the phone up at the end of the school day, but once you get that one, but on the second one, that's when the parent needs to also come up there and maybe pick that phone up. And I think they would be allowed to pick it up on the same school day. That's what we're recommending. If the parent couldn't get up there by the time before the school closed down for the day on handing the cell phones back, they could come any point in time in the next day, whether it be morning, middle of the day, afternoon. If the parent wanted to wait 3 days and let the school hold on to it as an extra incentive for their child, that could we would be holding on. Essentially, we would hold on to it until a parent and or guardian came to the school and picked up the phone. So you can see that the third, fourth are consequences increase, beginning with the fourth, which we're recommending maybe start ISS on the fourth offense, and then the fifth offense could be anywhere from 2 to 5 days of ISS. Yes, sir.
Mr. Perkins, what was the principal's logic, and as you all put this together, that there's no real change between 2 and 3, because to me it makes sense just to wipe out number 3, renumber 4, 3, and 5, 4.
Again, we're completely open to implement anything, any decision that the board makes, and we're completely flexible to change this how the board would like us to change it. The difference simply is that we have, essentially campuses only have 3 options for, as you move your way down the line of discipline consequences, you have a D-Haul, which for our campuses, I put 30 to 60 because we have some middle schools that try to do a 30-minute D-Haul, and sometimes they do a lunch detention that also serves as a D-Haul, and then we have our high schools that normally will do 60-minute detentions at the end of the day. So a D-Haul is anything but 30 to 60-minute detention. The next level up would be an extended D-Haul, a 2 or 3 hour, it could be a Saturday class. A lot of our high schools do the Saturday class morning option. Sometimes they also do a Thursday afternoon, 3 hours to go along with it. Our middle schools do sometimes a 2-hour extended D-Haul. So if the board preferred to move on offense number 3, because that would be the third offense, to the 1 day of ISS, and then the fourth offense would be anywhere from 2 to 5, we would be happy to adjust that.
Yeah, was there a specific logic why it repeated twice?
There was not a specific logic. No,
Okay,
sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
Scarpa.
Perkins, I had the same comment about that. I think we should just strike the small three eyes, and have the fourth become the third, the fifth become the fourth. And I think at the fifth, should we, at that point, since now we're talking 5 times, are we talking about off-school suspension? And whether
Well,
that's
I'll mention we want to try to stay away from out-of-school suspension, especially for those homeless students. So there is going to be some nuances.
Yeah, no, I
in
get
here.
it.
But yes,
Okay.
I would recommend, if we're going to do that, just to change the third offense to the 1 day, the fourth offense being the 2 to 5, and then I would just add 4+. So 4+ would be a 2 to 5 day ISS stay, depending on that, and then.
And is there any point, though, where these would also, to give it a little more teeth to a pretty big part of the population of students, that it makes a student ineligible for UIL activities for some period of time?
Well, if a student goes to ISS while they're in ISS
that
or assigned
automatic?
to OSS, they cannot participate in UIL activities.
But is it only for the days they're in ISS?
It's
or-
only recurrent, the way our handbook reads is the current.
Well,
while
is
they're
that something we
currently in
should think
ISS.
about changing, is to say that on a particular item like this, on this particular one, since you really want to try to get compliance and cooperation, is to make it longer than just that?
The way I'd answer that question, Mr. Scarfo, is I think our kids that participate in extracurricular activities, I think our coaches do hold them to a higher standard, and the students that are going to violate this policy will not be our UIL students, because coaches monitor the discipline their athletes receive. So,
Okay, and that's fine.
It's really to be honest with you, it's really going to be the 3 to 5%, because when you implement when we communicate clearly with parents and students, which we will, and our administrators will, and we provide expectations to those students, and we hold students accountable to the expectations, and we follow through on the discipline, 95 to 97% of our students will follow the expectation as stated. The 3 to 5% will be the students that they're just going to refuse to do anything. They are the same students that 3 to 5%, which you're talking at a campus of 3,000 students, that's anywhere from between 90 to 150 students in that 3 to 5%. And that 90 to 150 on our large high schools, that 90 students is what causes 90% of the discipline issues as well. So the same student that's going to bypass the pouch, or the same student who's going to refuse to hand over their phone, which we'll talk about next, or the same student that's going to pull their phone out is the student that also has other discipline referrals in the system for other non-compliance, insubordination, inciting violence, other things on the campus. Based on our experience with handling discipline every day, 95% to 97% of our students are going to do what they need to do every single day.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying in general. I don't think it's a perfect correlation, but, and UIL is not just sports, it's fine arts as well.
Correct.
So, yeah, like I said, I agree mostly with what you said. I don't know that it's a perfect
And I didn't
correlation,
mean to
but
only
that's fine.
exclude fine arts, but based on my experience, the students involved in orchestra, choir, and band, and the art and the fine arts programs, they don't fall into the 3 or 5%.
You said you had two of your, I can see Mr. Solomon back there. And
I do. I
there's
think I
another
have
district
3
principal
secondary
back there as
principals
well.
here. There's
Yes.
3 standing up right there, my secondary principals.
Mr. Falk, okay. Can you guys, can they speak on?
Absolutely.
This policy has gone out to them, they vetted it as a group of
They
high
have.
school principals as
That
well
is.
as middle school as well?
They
Okay.
have. Mhm.
And
So
I mean,
any
'cause-
questions you have for those, they can
Yeah,
come up
so
here.
I have a question for you guys in the back. I'm going to put Mr. Solomon first on, and then, and Mr., say it again? Okay, and AHS, Mr.
Falker.
Falker. Okay, that's what, I thought you said something else. Mr. Falker and then Mr. Roser. This is a huge cultural change for each of your campuses. AHS being the largest campus and probably has the most moving parts, from portables to kids, no portables anymore. So, okay, everyone's in one building now, right? So, okay. So from the largest campus to the smallest high school campus, this is a huge cultural change, and you guys have looked at this policy. Was there a reason you had the second and third offense being the same?
Yeah, so the difference in the second and third for us, it's correlated to exam exemptions. So the exam exemption process is a huge thing for our kids in December and May. So part of the exam exemptions is you are allowed one Thursday or Saturday class, and you can still exempt based on you meet the criteria for grades and those kind of things. If you get 2 extended D-halls, which is for us a 3-hour Thursday class or a 3-hour Saturday class, you cannot exempt your final exams in December or May, depending on the semester. So even though it looks like it's not anything different, when we communicate the expectations of kids, the 97% he's talking about, that's a huge deal for them.
Being a parent of 3 high school students, that's actually a pretty important
I think we should caveat.
piece. I think we should keep the
Caveat.
second and the third.
Yeah, absolutely. But caveat or put some subtext underneath that, now that makes sense completely.
So, Mr. Fokker, do you want to talk about the cultural change on your campus, and what do you think after you've read this?
No, I agree with it. The offenses mimic basically our tardy policy. And so whenever students are tardy, the first time they get a disciplinary consequence, which would be a D-Hall. The second time also would be also a D-Hall. So per our disciplinary consequences, if we mimic it toward tardies 1 through 4 receive a D-Hall, tardies 5 through 7 receive a extended Thursday or Saturday class. Anything after that goes to ISS. And so that mimics what Mr. Perkins has laid out for all the campus expectations.
I have another question. There was if you go back a couple slides, you talked about there was a decision not to, and this could be a question for Mr. Binkley as well. We don't have to go back the slides. To prohibit students from bringing a personal device, why wouldn't we, is there our campuses, I know some campuses in the Dallas-Fort Worth area are eliminating phones in middle school. You're still bringing your personal device in a pouch or in your pocket or in your backpack in high school, but they're completely eliminating them from middle school down. Is that something that we have looked at or talked about, or how is the law?
We have not looked at that or talked about that. I think that is, and that's why it's an informational item tonight.
Mhm.
So if that's something the board would want to explore at middle schools, I think that's a whole different dynamic when you tell a parent that their student can't bring the phone to school at all. And so that means that they can't have the phone in their backpack. It's not to be on their person. I think, and Mr. Binkley may be able to speak to the law better than me on what the intent of, but I took that first bullet as you're not allowed to have the cell phone, even bring it to school. It should stay at home altogether. And I just don't know how our community and parents would feel about saying that, my kid walks home and I, expect to be able to communicate with them for safety reasons. Sure. That's why we really haven't explored it in the past. But if the board wants us to explore that, we absolutely can.
So I think the board would hear about that. I was meeting with a Summer Creek High School student that's going to be a senior, and I said, what do you think of the cell phone law now? And she didn't really know about it, but she said she had had a phone since she was in 3rd grade, simply because of what Mr. Perkins said. Both of her parents worked. She walked home. They wanted her to text. Walking home,
And then when she got home, I'm here. So it's a communication tool that we've all just become so familiar with. I have twin girls, and I still want to know where they are, and they're
Absolutely.
35, you know?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Did you, so one of the other things that you said, that several of your building principals emailed back that they would be a pilot for the Yonder pouches, or for a pouch.
So just to check, this morning, we had discussions prior,
Okay.
and I just wanted to get a handle on how many of my secondary, because I didn't want to stand up here and say the majority or vast majority of my secondary building principals didn't want to do it. So I sent an email this morning that asked to those to reply if they would be interested in doing a pilot program if the board wanted to explore the Yonder pouches, and I received 3 replies, one from one high school and 2 middle schools. So out of the 17, I had 3 reply that they would volunteer. So I can confidently stand up here based on the email that was sent today and say that the vast majority of my secondary principals at this time, today, that they were not necessarily interested in the pouches, but we may get to December and we may have a lot more building principals say, you know what, maybe I'm interested in it after all. We just don't know how that would play out. But if that's something that we wanted to look into, I wanted to make sure I provided that information to you guys accurately tonight.
I mean, I can tell you, so I have a nephew that's on a state football team, large 6A school in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They went to playoffs. They didn't get as far as Atascocita High School, but they got a little further. They've been doing this pilot for 2 years with Yonder pouches. All of those boys broke their pouches. The entire football team broke their pouches. However, their phone still stays in their broken pouch. And what they have seen is the majority of them have increased their grades by like 10 points in some cases. Their distraction level is down, and their phone is still staying in their broken pouch. It's a deterrent, whether it's a pouch or some kind of, I don't know, I mean, even though they have a broken pouch, I'm not sure why they keep it in their broken pouch, but they keep it in their broken pouch for whatever reason. And I know their coaching staff, after talking with them this past week, has loved it. The other thing I can say confidently from a safety standpoint is that when they had an incident at their large 6A high school, which is similar in size to Atascocita, it was their fastest evacuation that they've had in a long time out of the building because nobody was on their phones. And so they were able to get out, be decisive, follow their teachers, and follow the protocol, as opposed to negotiating with their teachers, being on their phones. I don't know what people do on their phones, but all the things that they do. So there's been success stories out there. I would love for us to take a moment and look at some of those school districts that have been piloting this now for 2 to 3 years and to see what has worked and what hasn't worked and ask those questions on the broken pouches, not broken pouches. I know they also gave parents an option to purchase pouches as part of their school supplies. I think it was $25 a student for Yonder pouches, and they found about 60 to 70% of their parents purchase it as part of their school supplies because parents want their kids' phones in a pouch, or if some sort of pouch, not always Yonder pouch. But it was interesting to see because they thought everyone was going to push back and everyone was going to say, we're not going to purchase this. This is too much money for our own. But most parents want their kids to have less distraction, so they purchased them themselves, and it wasn't a hit to the school district. So, just a thought when you're looking at this. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so where we're at is that if the student complies. So the scenario I presented, Terry had his cell phone out in class, an administrator comes to that classroom, or Terry may have had his cell phone out before the school day started, sitting in the cafeteria, or they had their phone out at lunch, it was sitting in their lap and it was visible. Those would be violations and those phones would need to be taken up. At that point, that means the student, this slide right here shows you if the student complies. So what if, because again, I said we have probably not 5 even on that, probably 3%, 2.5% of the population is just going to say, no, I'm not handing you over my phone. I'd rather cut off my right arm than hand you my phone and have my parent come pick it up at the end of the day. So when in that case, if a student refuses at that point, to us, it becomes a separate discipline issue. Having the phone visible out during the school day was the first violation. Refusing an administrator's request, directive to hand over the phone is insubordination. And the insubordination comes with a second consequence. Along with all my administrators felt as if the student should receive the first consequence for the phone. So you saw that on the complies, if it's first offense, a D-Hall, second offense, they're still going to get the extended or the D-Hall or the ISS that's associated with maybe a fourth or fifth violation. So they get that. But then they're going to receive another consequence for the insubordination, because it is not okay in any of our book for a student to refuse to do something an adult asks them to do on campus. And in that regard, our administrators, again, our veteran administrators are all adept at handling those situations. It's not a confrontational situation. It is, Will, are you going to hand over your phone? And Will refuses to hand over the phone. Will, you're going to have to hand it over the phone. If Will still refuses, Will, we're going to have to walk to the office, and we're going to have to get your parent or guardian on the phone, and we're going to have to explain to them the decision that you're making about not handing me over your phone. And then if you don't hand me over the phone, here's what the consequence is going to be. You're not going to be allowed to just go back to class. You're going to either have to go to ISS, or I'm going to suspend you off campus. So let's go back and get your parent on the phone, and let's have your parent, I'm going to let you tell them that you're refusing to hand me the phone, so that your parent knows the decision that you're making. And then when you make that, if you at any point in time in our walk to the front office, if you just hand me your phone, you can go right back to class. We'll be fine. Anytime we're talking to your parent on the phone, if you want to hand me that phone, we'll take it. You complied, I'm going to put you right back in class. But the moment we hang up with your parent, I'm going to ask you one more time, and when you don't, well, then I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to suspend you off campus for the rest of the day. Or I'm going to have to place you in ISS for the rest of the day. Homeless students will not be allowed to be suspended off campus for this type of violation. So they will have to go to ISS for the rest of the day. I'll simply escort you to ISS for the rest of the day. And so that is kind of how we would handle a situation where a student doesn't comply. There are at other times, I don't want to stand before you tonight and say that only administrators would ever pick up cell phones. Now, our younger administrators are going to have to be trained, and we are. I have hot topics tomorrow, Thursday morning, all day Thursday with all of our administrators. And hopefully we have a few answers tonight to be able to do that, and we will be training, and building principals will train all their new administrators and younger administrators that have become administrators within the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, where we haven't done this type of pick the phone up every single time. But there are designated personnel that I believe we need to allow the building principal the autonomy to train. It may be not the whole staff, it may be a portion of the staff, but in the mornings, I have all my teachers on duty. If I'm West Solomon, I only have 6 campus administrators for my campus of 1,900 in the morning when everybody arrives before the first bell rings. Once you walk through that door, the cell phone can't be out invisible. My 6 administrators can't be everywhere at one time. So I will have teachers that are out on duty. That he will train his teachers on how to, the student had to find it, because if our adults who are supervising students don't hold students accountable for that cell phone, then it's not going to work for the campus. They are going to have their adults hold the students accountable before school starts, in the classrooms, during transitions, and at lunch. And so I do believe we need to give the building principals the authority for designated personnel. We don't want teachers in classrooms taking up phones. No. If I was a building principal, and I've told our building principals, teachers in classrooms aren't going to take up phones. Teachers don't need to be messing with phones in classroom. They just need to call for the administrator. We don't want to interrupt the instructional time. We don't want there to be a disruption to the instructional time, and we don't want our teachers dealing with it. Our teachers aren't trained to deal with that. When a kid says no, some teachers take that personally and become more agitated than others and create additional situations that don't even need to occur. Because, like I said, it's easy. It's a simple decision. You're either going to hand me the phone, or we're going to have to walk to the office, take care of this with your parent, and then you can hand it to me at that point. Or if you don't, this is the consequence, and then we move on. It's no different than a student. They will vouch. We have students that refuse to do all kinds of things all the time. They will refuse to walk to the office with you. They'll refuse to go do this. And I let the student walk off and let the student calm down for a minute. And I walk back over there and say, Will, we still got to walk to the front office one way or another. So I'm going to let you walk around here a little bit more. And I'm going to start walking this way. And I'm going to expect it. You see, there's veteran administrators and administrators who are used to handling kids know how to do those things and de-escalate situations, not escalate situations. And I don't believe that our teachers should be in the middle of those situations having to determine those things. And so that's kind of leads us to what we're recommending. Yes, sir.
Mr. Perkins, I agree with you, and I really don't want teachers to be in that situation at all. At what point would you, as what you just described, that situation where the student's just not complying, is there a point where you, since you're on a high school or middle school campus, that you call a resource officer to assist?
So
or-
Chief and I already talked. He goes, Mr. Perkins, you're not including us in that cell phone stuff, are you? I said, no, sir, because we don't want our police officers to be on. We don't. But there are situations at the end of the day when our administrators work with a student, they will need to come to the front office one way or another. So those situations exist right now on our campuses where students will refuse to do something an administrator's asking. At the end of the day, that student must comply. And if they don't, then yes, the campus officer will become involved, and Chief trains his people very well on how to de-escalate those situations. And our administrators know how to talk to those kids to try to de-escalate, because the last thing that we want to have to do is for Chief's officer to have to come help our administration with a situation. But does it happen? Yes, it does happen. And at some point in time, does an officer have to help a student move to the front office so we can take care of them? Yes, it does. Does it happen in violent situations more often than other situations? Absolutely. But so it's about de-escalation, not escalating a situation to have to get Chief's people involved.
No, go ahead.
I love the fact that lunch is excluded from cell phone use. Was that a district limitation or was that a state limitation?
According to 1481,
It says not even at lunch.
cannot be
Okay.
out during the school day.
Perfect.
That's correct. And it's not, again, for the community and the parents who are listening to this tonight, this is not an Humble ISD thing. This is a state of Texas thing.
Yeah,
That's what I've
I
told my
wanted to
building
hear.
principals. When they're
I just
explaining
thought
the
I'd love to be-
expectations to kids,
Yeah.
this isn't Will Faulker or Matt Rozier or Wes Solomon rule. This is a state law. And as building principals are going to be required to follow what the written policy that the board adopts. And so when you use those things to explain expectations to kids, then you get 97, 98% compliance.
Okay, so I have a good question. Nobody reads the handbook. None of the high schoolers read the handbook. They say they do, they hit the compliance. I've got 3 high schoolers, they're pretty compliant kids, never gotten in trouble, but they don't read the handbook as clearly, right? So no one's going to go through here and understand offense 1, offense 2, offense 3. Is
That's
this
their job.
something? I know, that's a big job. So I know we don't want teachers involved, and I totally get that, because teachers can't be in compliance of that. But this is the first time teachers are saying, this is law. Can they have that in their classroom, visible,
Well,
like printed and
so
laminated
part
for
of our-
every classroom?
Part of our communication, which I have that last slide, will be next steps, will be to work with Jamie Mount's office and first develop the district level communication that will need to go out to all the parents. Once the district and Jamie's office works that communication piece, these gentlemen behind me, along with my other, 17 secondary principals, will begin to put it out on X, on their Facebook pages, and they will communicate. Then when the students come back to campus, all of our campus administrators hold grade level expectation meetings with their students where they do this right here. They'll put a slide up there that shows here's the consequences for being tardy on the campus. There will be 1, 2, maybe 3 slides on explaining the cell phone policy and how it's being implemented and what the consequences are. They've even talked about doing some videos as well to put out there, so to use social media to their advantage and reach kids where they are at. But every student at the secondary level will be required to sit in a student expectations meeting, and they'll see it in real time.
These are middle schoolers and high schoolers. They leave their brain at the door, and they don't remember anything that you tell them on rules. And so,
part
like,
of-
I think it would, I think we look at, I mean, we've taken away cell phones, so they don't have any way of reading their social media or anything during the day. So I think anything that's written when they walk in the door for the
They'll-
teacher to point back to that says, hey, this is not my policy, this is the state policy, this is not even state policy, this is state law that I'm enforcing and I'm required to enforce, and so are your building principals. It just takes the onus away from them, and it puts it right back into written word that I'm sure Ms. Mount and her team could come up with.
But it's really their
And their te- yeah.
responsibility to
Yeah, yeah,
communicate with their
absolutely.
students
Yeah.
and clearly explain those expectations, post those expectations, and then make daily announcements about the expectations. So I was known for being on the announcements all the time, talking to students about expectations, and all of our secondary building principals get on those announcements and make those announcements in conjunction with the meetings. It's an entire web of things that are put together to make sure that students understand the policy. And the first 3 weeks of school are going to be different. The first month, because kids are kids, and they're going to test the system, and they're going to see when I get is my phone going to get taken up by the adult who sees me? And then once my phone does get taken up, am I going to get assigned the consequence eventually? And then once I get assigned the consequence, if I don't go, well, then am I going to get assigned the next consequence for not going? Because if not, well, then I'll get my phone out. It doesn't matter. So again, unless we stay consistent, and yes, there are going to be more discipline infractions in the first month of school. Yes, the administrators, the campus administrators at every campus are going to run around dealing with cell phones and communicating expectations and talking to parents on the phone about cell phones. But after we implement all the consequences and the kids see that we're serious and we're going to follow through, 98% are going to meet the expectations, and we'll be just fine. And they'll still be dealing with the 90 students that they always deal with every other day.
Mr. Perkins, to
Yes,
your point about it being state law, I think the community needs to understand that actually the law says that a district can prohibit a student from bringing it onto school property.
I think that's
Or
what Michelle was.
do what we're doing and saying it's got to be stored.
That's correct.
So people should understand, we're not being the harshest that could happen, and I want people to understand that. And maybe, Dr. Brown, I might suggest that we post and people should go and read it. It's not very long. It's like just barely 5 pages. And I think we should put that on the website and send out an email with the link so people can actually read the legislation and understand that this could have been a lot more draconian.
It's one of the
Maybe we get
simplest
there at
House
some
bills I've seen. It's not even, it's 3 pages and it's
Yeah,
not even a full page. So
yeah,
it's
well,
one of the simplest, Jeremy will tell you, it's probably one of the easiest to read and understand of any of
Yeah.
the House bills that I've seen this year.
I was talking about the one that has the changes in it, so you can kind of see what they put in, so that's why it's 5 foot. But yeah, exactly, and I really think we should do that. We
And
got to
so-
communicate.
Right, and that's the urgency here of, we have a board workshop on Monday, so we need to bring an action item forward. And the reason for that is so that we can start doing this. We can really get advertising out to and notification and communication out to our parents and to our students. Here is what we're doing in Humble ISD to meet the letter of this law. And so it's because because school will be starting and parents are planning. And I'll tell you, as much as cell phones, it's going to be the smartwatches and that kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
We've done, I wasn't there for the community meeting that we did for Foster's. I was out of town, so my apologies, but I know that was effective. Is there something that we can do on each of these high school campuses? I know it puts work back on the principals, but it is and parents can opt in to come in or not, right? Can we do something as an assembly that says, this is a huge cultural change
It is.
for our district, for our high schools, for athletics? Everything operates on an app right now. And so how can we effectively communicate this to the parents by saying, here are the rules, here's the change. Coaches are going to be texting the night before or the 24 hours before, and your student has to take the ownership, not to pull out their phone. And, they have to take ownership on making sure their schedule.
That is one of the things we discussed. A lot of our campus administrators and UIL extracurricular coaches are used to texting the kids during the day. Updates for the afternoon practice. And so that's one of the things they're going to have to talk to their staff about, is that they may need to get communication out, but we also need to take a look at when we're communicating with kids as well too during the day, because again, they're not allowed to take their devices out and read the messages.
But in fairness to our community, this is a large district. People don't read emails. It gets buried. KHS Connect for me gets buried, right? I have to go back and search it. I think it's important to have our district principals, I know this is a lot of work and they're probably going to yell at me afterwards, but to have a community town hall before school starts. You could be right around walk the schedule or whatever you guys do,
They all
each campuses.
have like coffee with the principals. They're
Okay.
all required. They all do those already on a
But
monthly basis. They all have.
But I would
back-to-school
do
meetings.
it, but I'm asking for it to be done before school starts. So before you even walk into the building with this new rule, that you have a community meeting at each of your campuses that's rolling this out, whether it's middle school or high school,
That is
that
something we
says,
can absolutely look at. Yes, ma'am.
and just roll it out and that way you've done your due diligence to communicate. If people show up, that's on them, right?
Correct.
You've emailed, you've sent out text, you've put it on Twitter, you've put it on the website, and then you've also had a meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think that's a lot of work for the administrators. These town hall so-called meetings, you're lucky if you get 50 to 100 people show up. These guys have a lot, especially with school starting, a lot to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I understand, but
Yeah.
I just think, when does the nanny state stop? And I think we can communicate this digitally to let people know. But I think the more important thing is people need to know this is state-driven, and they can talk to Representative Cunningham, Senator Crichton in our general area, and Representative Thompson, and all those people. And they kind of beat us to the punch because I had asked to put it on our agenda for a discussion about this, and they kind of took it out of our hands and said, well, you know what, we were just going to talk about it. And they said, no, you're going to have to do it. And I think it's really key that we're not being as draconian as possible in what we're doing, because we're saying, you know, we're going to store them. I think then there's going to be a question of how we do that, and that's another discussion. But Ms. Mount's group does a great job of communicating, and I'm just, in my personal opinion, I'm only one of 7 people. I think putting a burden of these town halls on the administrators is really beyond the pale, but anyway.
So our next slide, legal exceptions to the policy, because in 1481, it does allow 3 different legal exceptions to the policy, and then we're going to have to create a process for students to follow to claim one of these exceptions. And then, as you can see them up there, the first 2 are obvious. The third one, I don't know why we would, at this point, with our current state of operations, I don't know why we would provide an exception for reason number 3. And so for the first 2 bullets there, yes, there are going to be those situations. That we will need to have a separate identification badge that's not that students can't easily copy. And then students can keep that on their person somewhere. And then if they do need to take their device out to check their blood sugar or their heart rate for a medical reason, then the adult who sees them do that will be able to, there won't be a confrontation, because there will be a process for a student to follow to receive one of the extra exception badges and the reason for that badge. And that will be on file with the campus.
Can you clarify the first bullet point? It's not that students with a 504 would get an exception.
No,
to
only
this
if
plan.
only if the 504 committee or the ARD committee implemented that as part of an IEP on the ARD side, or if the 504 committee said there was a medical need for the student to monitor blood sugar, heart rate, et cetera.
Right.
Because how long would it take for those IEPs to be updated, where it had that information in there to say that the
It
student...
could be an annual ARD meeting, or also if the parent felt like that needed to happen, they could just need to contact the administration and ask for us to schedule an ARD meeting. They can call at any time and ask to schedule an ARD
But
meeting.
between now and that period of time, the student might need to have their phone, but they wouldn't be allowed to have it because it's not in their IEP.
I think that if there was a medical reason or something like that, there were processes the campus will put in place to be able to try to make those happen before school starts.
But beyond medical, there's also our special needs students who need to have certain devices that would fall under what's banned.
School-issued devices don't fall under this, but there are some IEP programs that
Right.
do allow for a personal device to accompany the student on campus. And so I think that if that's been in the IEP previously, I'm sure we can work on a process to be able to approve those in the first, day of school, a few days before school starts. I think we can identify those students.
Okay, no, that'd be good because that's important. And would Mosaic campus be included in this ban of not
Yes,
being able?
that's correct.
It would,
From my
okay.
understanding, it doesn't allow provisions for any specialized campus.
I don't know
We'll have to
enough
get you
about
to
our
answer that.
Mosaic program. I would want to look. I know for certain adult education programs, it may not apply.
There
but-
is a provision that it doesn't apply to adult education programs. So if Mosaic, since it's 18 to 21, qualifies as an adult education program, it might be exempt. It's a good point. All right, so our next slide is elementary, and Chrissy's already up here. So I'm going to let her kind of review because this is not an issue at our elementary campuses. They have not allowed cell phones. A few smartwatches floating around the elementary, so we'll need to clean that up. But other than that, I'm going to let Chrissy speak about how elementary will handle anything, because that will need to be included in a policy in how we regards to handling elementary situations. And I have my elementary expert standing right here.
Absolutely. Like Terry mentioned, this is not going to be a significant difference for our elementary students and parents. The big piece is like what Ms. Shaw mentioned is the communication with our parents. That's been a big part of our planning. I actually have two of our campus principals here, Ms. Dunn from River Pines and Ms. Thomas from Park Lakes. And that's the conversation that took place with our team, was the signage, was getting that information out at Meet the Teacher to our parents. But we already have our students keep their phones in backpacks. Smartwatches have really become more of, if we want to call it an issue, but a conversation. So making sure that those are put in the backpacks as well. Pockets, we have little pockets so in our clothes. So we said that pockets were not an option for like clothing. Where at the secondary level, it may be an option, but for elementary, we're looking at purses if a student has a purse or a backpack. And then looking at consequences, a lot of ours is teaching at the elementary level and working with parents. So the first two you'll see are, which again, we're open to feedback and input, but these are students would turn their devices, or we would turn the devices to the front office. They would pick them up at the end of the day. A written notice would go home to their parents, letting them know what's happening next if there's another violation. On the third violation, it would be an office referral. There would be a lunch or recess detention, and the guardian must pick up the device from the front office. When you get to the fourth violation, the difference here is our team looked at putting in they call it a device intervention plan. And truly what this would be is a meeting with the counselor, parent, student, where we're going over these expectations again. We're going over the rules, counselors will be checking in, and the parent is making that commitment to follow the state guidelines. Again, when we get to the fifth, at that point, we're looking at 1 day of ISS, an update to that plan. But then after the fifth violation, we consider that a violation of the student code of conduct and could be looking at more significant, because we're looking at insubordination and disregard for authority. So any questions about elementary? No? Okay.
So that brings us to the next step. We've talked about most of the stuff up here already. I think that, but for our next step, we need the board to write a policy, or I'm going to leave it to Jeremy about what next steps from the legal side, that 1481 requires the board to do next.
And so I think my big question for the board tonight, and I know you may need some time to reflect, to think this is, tonight is informational, it is not an action item, but are there any strong objections to sort of this process and these proposed policies that Terry or Dr. Perkins has presented? Because what we know we need to do, although we have until September 18th under the law to get a policy adopted, realistically, we've got to roll this out before school starts. We've got to start these expectations from day one. So what does that look like from our timeline? Our board meeting in August is the night before school starts. So approving a policy that night, probably not a great idea from a communication standpoint. We're not going to be able to roll that out, or individuals know what those expectations really are. And so we were looking at maybe with the board workshop on Monday, potentially being able to even bring a policy then. But I need to know if there are any strong objections, because I'm going to try to take these 20, 25, 30 slides and get it. 14 slides. I mean, they're not numbered, so it felt like a lot.
It's because I kept going back and forth.
Pared down into, a policy that's quick and easy to understand, and that we can definitely implement based on this. So if there are any strong objections, or if you think of something after, definitely reach out to me, let me know. We're going to be trying to pull this together so that we can have something to the board to view on Monday. And then if needed, if we get to a point where we have really strong consensus, but we've got a couple revisions that need to be made, maybe then we can try to, if we had to, worst case, approve that in the August board meeting, but knowing that we're already getting the communication out, and it's really just a matter almost of ratifying, not of changing. But ideally, we would get this approved on Monday. So I do have a lot of work ahead of me in the next couple of days. But I guess my question, any strong objections?
We don't have to have this in place till mid-September, according to the way the law was passed and signed. And I know what you're saying about rolling it out. I think can't we roll out information as to this is now public, so they can kind of see the framework. This is going to happen, but as far as it becoming effective, it doesn't have to become effective till that September 8th, you said 18th, I thought it was the
18th,
20th, but.
Well, it's
whatever.
90 days after
I
it
know.
was passed. It was passed on the
Yeah, I know.
20th of June.
Exactly, right.
I think, though, my point, my experience in, being school adjacent as the lawyer, and I imagine principals, tell me if I'm wrong, if we don't have these expectations set on day one, it's going to be a much harder job turning that ship and changing that culture.
It's chaos if you don't roll it out immediately before school starts. Kids need structure and order.
But I think we're getting rushed to approve something in a policy without really vetting it closely. This is a huge sea change.
Yeah.
And I would rather us err on the side of caution, and, we can, like I said, this information is out there now. And we can let people know, this is the road we're going down, and it's within this framework. It might be a little bit different. And there's a couple of questions I still have about some of the mechanics of it. But I'm just a little hesitant to be asked to vote when's the workshop on Monday, right? Next Monday, so it's less than a week. Because you probably won't get the final policy to us. I don't want to see it on Saturday and then have to, spend time to go through it then and have a limited amount of time. That's all I'm saying is, if we need to call another special board meeting later in.
I think we need, if that's what the board's desire
It's
is,
just
to
me.
call a special board workshop, we can certainly do that. I do think we need, though, to get information out to our families and to our students, the expectations, because they're going to want to know, well, I know what the law is, but are y'all going to let us keep it? Are you going to let us bring it to school? And if you do, are we going to do a pouch? We're not going to do a pouch? What are the rules? When can I take it out? And then.
But all that information is there about.
Dr. Brown, how
But
long?
how are we going to
Right.
implement it? And,
Dr. Brown, how long have you guys been working on this?
since it rolled out, we got
The law was signed and passed, 25 days ago?
Yeah.
And you've been working nonstop on it.
And so working with the principals
Yep.
and
So
I just know as a building principal, and Mr. Scarfo, I don't want to wait until September 18th. I need to start school with it. We'll be in school a month basically, and then telling students, we're going to tell students, okay, no more. This is the plan. Which we could do, but it's just going to be harder on our administrators.
Is there rigidity to adopting a policy and changing that policy midstream?
No, I was just going to say, so policies can be changed. And so if we get something in place, we get those expectations out, and the campuses come back and tell us, hey, in October, November, this isn't working, we need pouches, or we need this, or we want to ban them all together. The campuses are going to be able to tell us what they need. Now, I do want to be cognizant of, and I think turning that tide a little bit, you're going to have some kids who are testing the limits on those first few weeks of school. We may see some more frustrations during that time, but as it evens out and we give it a chance, there may be areas where the board decides we want to be tougher or we want to be looser in some of these things as we're allowed to under the law. So policies can be changed. But I think it's setting those expectations on day one that's going to carry the biggest weight in getting this thing implemented. And again, y'all tell me if I'm wrong. I'm always happy to be wrong. It happens regularly.
I can speak for my building principals. They would like to have it on day one.
Well, the staff.
The staff need it as well too, because we have staff coming back on the 31st. So for them to be able to, again, train staff, like Ms. Shaw spoke about, is a communication plan with student staff and the community. And the quicker we can begin definite communications where there's no question about what's going to happen, the better.
Have we sent out anything to the community about the bill? Not that what we're doing, but the bill.
No, sir, not
So
yet.
I was just thinking, just to start priming the community, I'm just showing what Spring Branch, I'm just looking what Spring Branch did. They just posted it, said, hey.
They voted on it, though, before they posted it. So wouldn't you vote on it before and then post?
What's
I
today?
know,
We gotta get it done. That's why I'm saying Monday is our board workshop. We can alter it as we need to, but I think we need to get it out.
So I do know Galena Park's already done theirs because the superintendent sent me, this is what we sent out, this is what we adopted and what we're doing, just so I can see it. And so, yeah.
Okay. Oh, yes.
So
Yes, ma'am.
this has been in the news, so I do believe that people are aware that the law has passed. It is very difficult to communicate speculative information, like the board is considering this might be the consequence, this might be the day that it takes effect, because that is confusing for people. And so it would be clearest if the board is able to adopt a policy and then we communicate this is going to be the time that it's in effect. This is how it's going to work. That provides a lot of clarity for students and families so everybody knows what the expectations are.
Good point. All right, thank you, Mr.
That's all I
Perkins.
have tonight.
All right. Thank you, building principals. All right. Item 7C, updates from our board, associations, and committees. First committee is the Advocacy Committee.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Mrs. Parker, Audit Committee?
You want me to do both of mine back to back?
Yes, sir, please.
I'll do the finance first.
Okay.
We didn't have a finance committee meeting this month, but the 25-26 budget is now active. All regularly scheduled staff are receiving raises this year. Pay increases are being processed by HR and will be effective in July, August, or September, based on each employee's contract. Health plan premiums will remain the lowest in the area. Thank you to the finance team for their work during this budget cycle and for recommending a balanced budget. I've just got this is a statement in regards to the 2018 bond. The 2018 bond forensic audit review reached substantial completion at this time, although additional details could be forthcoming. In order to continue to ensure the appropriate and efficient use of all district money, including bond funds, Humble ISD has turned the matter over to the Harris County District Attorney's Office, Division of Public Integrity, for review.
Thank you. Building and Planning Committee? Yes, sir. Oh, you got
I
a
have
comment? Yes.
On that report, yeah. Yeah, could you read it again, what you said?
The 2018 bond forensic audit review reached substantial completion at this time, although additional details could be forthcoming. In order to continue to ensure the appropriate and efficient use of all district money, including bond funds, Humble ISD has turned the matter over to the Harris County District Attorney's Office, Division of Public Integrity, for review.
Mr. President, I'd just like to comment on that. You know, based on the findings, and we've all had a chance to read the in-depth reports, and based on those findings of the 2018 bond audit, and given the depth of malfeasance uncovered, I'd strongly urge the board to consider a forensic audit for the 2022 bond to consider of all the 2022 bond funds expended to date. And additionally, I think the audit committee should direct, again, these are suggestions, should direct Mr. Clark, our chief auditor, to undertake a complete review of current policies and procedures related to how contract bids are taken, recommended, and awarded, so that any weaknesses that allowed the malfeasance uncovered from the 2018 bond forensic audit can be eliminated. He should report his findings to the committee within 90 days, and the chair can present the findings to the full board for consideration on actions as necessary. I just think it'd be important for us to consider doing that.
Actually in agreement with you. Jeremy, I would assume that could be put on for future board business that we could discuss.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, we'll do that. I would recommend if you could make that motion when that time comes. Mr. Scarfo, and could you give your update on building and planning as well?
No, nothing more to update,
Yes,
given
sir.
the presentation tonight.
All right, and then Safety Committee.
Nothing to update.
All right. Superintendent Evaluation Committee, that is all of us. No updates there. Technology Committee, myself, nothing to report. Education Foundation, Mrs. Parker.
Nothing to report.
Item 7D, Financial Services Report. Any questions from the board regarding this item?
Mr. Holmes, I actually do have something to report.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Von Baron, will you come up and talk about purse bingo?
Thank you. That is our Education Foundation's first fundraiser of the year. It is Friday, August 22nd, and we would love people to come and purchase tickets and participate that at the Humble Civic Center. It is a designer purse bingo. We play in 20 games of bingo, and you have the possibility of winning a designer purse. And those funds will help fund one of our first grant programs that we're going to be offering, which is our mini grant program. We will ask teachers in late July to tell us how they could best spend $250 to get their classroom ready for the school year. And we hope to award as many as we awarded last year, which was about $80,000 in mini grants. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The Financial Services Report, any questions from the board regarding that item? I think I asked it, but just want to make sure. No questions? Okay. All right. Consideration of topics for future board business. Moving to our closing items, are there any topics? Yes. Mr. Grabowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. School is a big symphony, and all the teachers, I'm just talking from the teacher perspective here, the teachers in the classroom, 0807 PEEMS, were given a $5,000 bump to their base pay, and the other teachers have been excluded. And Mr. Beatty and Mr. Gardner have done a great job at closing that gap somewhat. And I would like to put on the agenda for the August regular board meeting that we give further guidance to Mr. Beatty and Mr. Gardner that they'll have 10 months to work it, to come as close as they can if they can't get there, but to totally close the gap. That's what we can go back to in the next school year, one pay system for all teachers, one pay scale for all teachers.
And on that point, I'd like to add, can I add to your point for future board business?
Please.
Or do I have to make a separate point? Can we also look at instructional coaches that have a different, I think, and I could be saying this wrong, but they have a different coding, right? And I think this was prior to Dr. Fagan, but they were considered academic lead teachers, which kept them in the same pay scale. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be asking questions, but I'd love to discuss that. And would that have not excluded them from the pay raises? Just instructional coaches itself? Because we came up with that in Humble ISD, right? The instructional coaches, that's our term. That's not, yeah. So if we can add that to the board agenda as well.
I think, would you say that both of those are in the realm of the same type of motion we can make to add it to future board business?
I think y'all are essentially saying the same thing in different ways.
There's two things. I think he's asking for counselors and librarians as well, and then the addition of instructional coaches.
But I think ICs are part of that. They've
Are
been
they?
part of those communications.
As all teachers,
Oh,
not just 087 teachers.
That's a very loaded word right now, sir.
Yes, yes, it is.
That's why we're trying to get that clarity.
All right. So I guess we need a vote on that. Do we have an appetite for that? To have Billy and Mr. Beatty and his team do some research on that in prep for next year?
Well, and I think it's going to be an item on the next agenda
discuss.
to have that discussion.
We can't discuss now.
Yeah.
That's right. An item. So what's the appetite for putting that
On the August agenda.
on the August agenda? Appetite for that? By show of hands?
Okay.
Okay, we'll have it. We'll add it. All right. The time is now 10:06.
Were there any other items for future board business?
Oh, do you need to do this one formally? About,
You didn't say it.
Oh,
oh.
Set the time.
Okay, I would just recommend that we put on a future board agenda, hopefully August or September, that we consider doing an audit of the 2022 bond funds.
What is the appetite the board has for putting that on our agenda for next month?
Okay.
All right. It'll be added.
For September, it's fine.
For September.
Or either
September.
one, August or September, where do you got room?
Let's do August.
Okay.
Let's do August. I don't want to wait. All right. Any other items we want to look at? No? All right. The time is now 10:08. This meeting is now adjourned.